Is everything good?
Yeah, no, everything is fine. I'm just looking at all of these tabs trying to organize my thoughts. But what I'm gonna actually I'm gonna keep the stream open on my phone so I also just have an immediate view of what's going on. Just in case something goes wrong.
No worries.
Let's plug.
I used to do that, but then sometimes I caught myself peeking at numbers, so I like just stopped doing that because I'm just like, I try to the best of my ability not to care about numbers. I only care about the number I raid with, so that like I can give people more people. That's the only thing I care about. Oh no, it's Nanette.
Nanette? Who? Huh?
Kenamet. Hi, Ken.
Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so what's happening, party people? Basically, what's going on is I have grievances with the gaming industry right now, and Mew has agreed to also kind of vent with me, and that's all this is. That's all I had planned.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Where do you want to start?
I think you brought up some good before we just hit go live.
Do you want to
Interesting.
start with like the train stuff? Do you want to start with like Ubisoft? Start slow?
Yeah, the trans stuff is exactly like the tab I'm open to right now.
Oh yeah, did I send that to you?
I don't know if you sent it to me, but I have an article open about it.
Yeah, I have a Reddit article about it that has it's like her own post about her experiences and it breaks it down.
Oh, cool.
It
Yeah,
breaks down the YouTube video and stuff like that, so we can start there.
absolutely.
So yeah, we can like.
Also, is the music an okay volume for people? I just kind of wanted to have something on in the background in case there was a lull. Is that too loud for people, or?
I'm kind of just jamming to it on my own tab because we're listening to the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not listening to it through
Oh yeah,
OBS because I have the tab open, so I can't.
yeah. Oh, it's Forest. Hi, Forest. Ooh, Spiral Reignited achievements. Did I ever get all those?
Oh shit! Nice, Blaze.
Did I ever get all those? I think I did actually.
I know I have them all on PlayStation. Am I a fake fan if I don't have them all on Steam?
I do not. Oh, cause some of them were like a little weird. Oh, what was it? Complete wild flight without touching the ground. Charge a goat in Colossus. So it was just kind of like a lot of like little things. I didn't do Nasty's boot. What?
Get fucked. Big
Defeat
fan.
Toasty without getting hit by him. I tried.
You got hit by Toasty?
I think it was like, I don't know.
No, the dogs have the dogs on that level have like insane hit detection. They
Yeah.
just absolute homing missiles.
Yeah. That's one thing that I find that they did really good about Spyro is like they're really good at judging where you're gonna run, so you have to actually think instead of just charging around in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is something about Spyro. You talk about Spyro though. Why won't they make more Spyro? Bring back the Eternal Beginnings trilogy. Like, people, treat your fans well.
Yeah, where's the Legend of Spyro Remastered trilogy? Bring back all of the original voice actors.
If you can.
Bring back.
Are voice actors? No, voice actors are kind of. It's only the Hollywood ones, right?
Yeah, those are like Elijah Wood, Gary Oldman. I mean, they have like Cree Summer. She's a legitimate voice actress. That's like what she does. So.
Yeah.
Man, I got all of Steam, Xbox, and PSN. I really need a Spyro break. No, run it back.
No.
Create a Smurf account. Run it back and just do it all again.
Yeah, exactly. Do a family share with your Smurf account on Steam, and then do it all again. Fake fan if you don't.
Alright. I swear there's real things we wanted to talk about.
There is. Somebody brought up Spyro, and we're both just like, Spyro?
It's a
Did you say
neuron.
Spyro?
It's a neuron right here at the front of the brain. That's how I
Yep.
am. That's how I am with like certain like shows and stuff.
Oh my god, yes.
People will just say a word, even if it's not like a word strictly associated with the show. It's just like my brain will like make the connection,
Yep.
and it's just like, hey, I have a hyperfixation. Let me talk for 10 minutes.
Can I interest you in the Church of Red Red? It was a Pokemon ROM hack that I was nuzlocking that I was obsessed with for a while, and I was just like, "Can I interest you in the Church of Red Red?"
It's the Spyro drug. Absolutely.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Most
Okay, I have chat open, I have Discord, and then I have all the tabs over here. Okay. So I guess we'll just go right into this then.
please do.
So I guess yeah, we're just planning on talking about like a lot of the I guess like mistreatment, representation, a lot of like the issues with the gaming industry, including like marketing and all that stuff. So one of the points I have here is about a trans woman named Leona, and they worked on Elder Scrolls Online at ZeniMax from 2018 to 2022. Um, they ended up getting a lot of like mistreatment from their manager when they came out of the closet, and Bethesda decided to withhold the like insurance, like the medical insurance for the gender affirming care and surgeries, and they used that as leverage to force her to resign and release the company from discrimination lawsuit. So there's a 4-hour video on YouTube. I will post the link if anybody wants to watch that later. It's about her experience, and she cuts it down really nicely in this Reddit post here, which I will also send so that people can take a look at it.
One moment.
But it's basically
we still haven't figured out. Sorry, we still haven't figured out.
Oh, I can't post links.
Yeah. Blaze, do you know how to fix this? I don't know
just
how to.
Just mod me.
Oh, okay. Duh.
You can just mod me for now. You can take it away later if you want, but yeah, just mod me.
Oh, absolutely. Let me just let's see.
We forgot about that. I forgot about that too.
It's like mod / then your name? Is that it?
Yep. You can at me as well. Since I'm in chat. Then it should work. No. You have to do /mod and then at me.
/mod.
Not mod slash. Oh, I thought you. Oh.
I said it. You repeated it.
We're doing our best.
You repeated it back to me. We're totally prepared for this. It's fine.
Okay. Hey. Cool. So here's that, and then copy link address. Here's the YouTube video for anybody that is interested. What do you mean? Wait. Shut up. Okay. Well, this isn't about me. You go. You. Why are you here? So yeah, there was like a bunch of screenshots from messages with the manager via Slack. Inconsistent work issue. Revealed the new work photo before they had the opportunity. Hold on. I got pressured to not return work early from my PTO, which turns into a conversation about why I need to be assigned unique assignments from the rest of the team, and ends with being asked how much work I could take on over that upcoming weekend. Conversation with my manager where she asked me to stick with dead names so I can continue working through technical issues I was experiencing due to my name change. That's kind of shitty.
Wait, stick with... What was that again? Stick with dead name?
Stick with dead name. Yeah. Call with my manager where I'm accused of being distracted from work by technical issues I was still facing, where I created a chaotic situation by requesting a name change in the first place. I feel like tech companies should have that shit sorted out by now. Like, you should be able to, like, change names and stuff like that, because, like, for me personally, with jobs and stuff like that, like, I've had my name misspelled, and they had to go through all the thing, and I'm just like, this literally isn't even my legal name, like, it's spelled wrong, like, you gotta fix this. And it was, like, really annoying. Like they
Yeah,
should just have stuff to deal with that in the first place.
name changes didn't name changes weren't invented by the trans community or LGBTQ plus
I
people. Like,
know. Yeah, it happened anyway. Some people like if they have like an abusive parent and they have both of their last names, they might want to remove the last name in the future, you know what I mean?
there's a podcast I really like where like one of the lead dudes was like, "Hey, so like just don't call me this name anymore. Like my dad called me that, and my dad's like not a great person. So when I hear that name, like I associate it with like my shitty dad." Or like I had a family member who just didn't like their name, so when they turned 18, they just changed it.
Yep. There's even a whole thing in Japan about kira kira name, which is sparkling names, which is like using the kanji for the word angel, but then instead of having it be the name be tenchi, it's angelou. There was a child who was named Pikachu. There's a child who's named Oji-sama, and so Oji is Prince and Sama is the honorific.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to call their name, you're calling them Oji-sama San. So you're using like two honorifics. You can change your name at 17 there, so like, you know, it should be a thing that's just in systems to be able to do, right? Like a little pencil icon, it's not that hard.
You would
Like
think,
Twitch isn't figured out, why can't Slack figure it out, right? You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just a lot of so that ends up going into like the tech industry and stuff like that, but it's just a lot of this stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff on like Twitter, for example, where like people kind of come out with like the ways that they've been treated as BIPOC, as you know, there's the whole Blizzard issue that everyone should be well aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I mean, we can get into that too in case people aren't, but like with Blizzard, there was like that whole big thing of like misogyny, basically, where it got to the point where one of the women they had bullied, they had basically swapped around nudes, and she couldn't deal with it, and you can probably guess how that ended. But this sort of stuff happens all the time in like AAA gaming industries, which is something that a lot of people don't realize just because video gaming is just so casual of a thing, right? We're currently stuck between like being made fun of for liking video games and liking video games being like a regular thing, that like people don't think that all the shit that happens in Hollywood happens in the gaming industry now too.
Mm-hmm. And there was the was it was it ActaBliz who had the whole like the best way I've heard it described is that like it was just toddler behavior where it was just like
Oh yeah.
grown ass men playing like tag and like crawling under desks and like grabbing women by the legs and stuff. Like do you remember this?
I think so. I think I heard something about that.
I don't want to throw shade to the wrong companies. I just want to look up.
There's also a lot of stuff like that that happen. Well, I don't think like the tag stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in Riot as well. People don't call Riot out though because they're too addicted to the leg.
Literally the only thing Riot makes.
I mean, Valorant's actually pretty prominent now.
They make I didn't even know they made Valorant.
Yeah, they made Valorant.
Hang on.
It's basically if Rainbow Six Siege met Overwatch.
I liked both of those games. Don't. Why are you telling? Why are you convincing me to play Valorant?
You're welcome.
Sued for Activision Blizzard sued for its workplace culture. This is from Slate.com, written by Alex Kirshner. Yeah, this is from 2021. Accused of fostering intensely sexist workplace, can't ignore a critic that represents 3 million of its shares.
Yep. That was awesome.
Frat boy culture. That's what they
Frat boy culture, yeah.
included inappropriate conduct by executives, men openly joking about the R word, general breeding ground of harassment, discrimination against women, and I'm curious whatever happened with this lawsuit.
Majority of the people did end up getting fired in the end, thankfully.
I know there was the Overwatch character Cole Cassidy. His name was like the cowboy character, like he was named after one of these people, and when he was ousted and like fired, they renamed the character Cole Cassidy.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, no, because it wasn't just
I
like
haven't kept up with Overwatch since, like, who's that girl? Ash? In the original?
yeah, I played up until I remember Doomfist coming out.
Doomfist. So the ship for Widowmaker and Doomfist is Widowfister, and it's really funny. Hi. Lighten the mood.
I can't. I can't even. I can't even be mad at that because I would probably come up with the same thing. Oh my.
It wasn't even me. It was like the internet.
I know. So I can't even be mad at it. What happened? Okay, what happened with the active? I'm gonna look into this if you want to keep going about the ZeniMax employee.
Yeah, of course. So, uh, where was I? I think there was like the chaotic situation. Discussion with my manager's boss about certain events that he was present for. This one in particular is when we were discussing my name change being brought up in front of multiple people during a group discussion, some of whom have never interacted with me and were not aware I was transgender. Final conversation I had with my manager and new producer where I'm trying to address ongoing issues I have had logging in. For 3 months, I kept hitting roadblocks or losing access to our tools due to my name change, and nothing seemed to fix it. I display a series of screenshots and login issues I collected during the time. I also had my portfolio website blocked by the company's firewall after I updated my name and URL. Okay, that's kind of weird. The portfolio website being blocked, that sounds kind of like it just sounds like a whole bunch of tech issues. Like nobody would like people were just refusing to fix and then discriminating against her because of it, which is kind of shitty.
Yeah, to turn a phrase, it sounds like a lot of tech non-issues. It's like things that are really easy to fix, but
Yeah.
they found like a very easy, low-hanging fruit thing to get mad about. It's like, well,
Yep.
she's making work for us. Oh no, do your
You
job.
coming yeah, you coming out is creating difficulties for us. So we're going to discriminate you against you about that. And it's like so fucking shitty. The head of human resources asking me, I don't understand. If you're being outed to the public, aren't you already out? And I have to explain to them that being transgender is not the same as everybody knows that you are trans. Yeah, because I remember, like, even, like, in the past a little bit, like, people who were, like, transgender and stuff like that, when they started to make the change, when they got rid of their dead name, when they changed their pronouns and all that stuff, like, a lot of people are like proudly trans. It's just like, yes, I'm a trans woman, but there are some situations, or there's like some communities, or even just some people where it's just like, I just want to exist as the gender that I identify with now, and I don't want people to know that I used to be this or used to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's up to the discretion of the person to come out to people. It's just like, yeah, I'm trans. I used to be this or something like that. Or like, if they don't want to come out forward with that at all, and not everybody needs to necessarily know that, right?
Mm-hmm. And I guess kind of to keep this tied in with like representation in video games. Um, how do you feel is like the proper way to represent like non-cis, like transgender NB people? Because there's the argument of just a little bit of dialogue that says that they're trans will help a lot of people feel included, but also pointing it out that they're trans is kind of like that's counterintuitive to the point of
Yeah.
being trans.
I feel like in some cases it may not necessarily be noticeable. Like, for example, there's like, I haven't seen the new Spider-Verse. I only just watched the first one like a month ago.
Mm.
But there's the whole thing about like, Gwen Stacy being a trans character or something like that. And it's just like you wouldn't really be able to tell without it. And I feel like it falls under like a similar vein as like BIPOC representation and stuff like that, where it's just like if that's like their whole character, then fuck off with it. But like if you can make it like a sort of thing, or even have like a bit of like a small character arc for them, where they become closer with like the protagonist or main character, or if it's not a story about like somebody and their transness and stuff like that, which I think like a lot of those like indie games about that is really beautiful. But give them a character where like their character isn't, oh, I'm LGBT, because then it feels like it's forced to be there. Because if like the character's black just for the sake of being black, it's the same thing, right?
It goes into like
um
tokenism.
yeah. Or you could even go into a little bit of like, a character's past. Like if you can work it into the story or something like that. Unless it's like a game that doesn't have story, like for example Overwatch. Like nobody would guess that Tracer was a lesbian via playing Overwatch because there's no story for it really.
Right.
I know they have like comic book series and stuff like that, and it felt like Blizzard like made her bi or lesbian, I forget which one it was, for the sake of it. But yeah, if you can incorporate it into the story a little bit, even if it's just like a little side character side quest or something like that, and like have it be like an actual like sort of character development thing, I think that would be really good.
Hmm. Yeah, so I have seen the new Spider-Verse movie, and for the most part, it's a little ambiguous. Gwen has like a trans flag hanging in her room, and
Hmm.
in her dimension, like those scenes, there's a lot of the color palette is
Yeah.
very is are like those shades, the like pink, blue, and white. It's very pretty, but like
Oh yeah, I loved her design in the first one.
it could very like I honestly like didn't even register in my brain that the character was or could be transgender. The way that I read it was that she was, an ally, you know,
Yeah.
which I
I,
think I'm sorry.
I think there was something about like the dad having like her dad or something in like her universe or whatever having like a little trans flag stitched to their uniform or something like that, and I think that's where people got it from. But I don't know. I just remember seeing a whole bunch of it when like the Spider Verse had first came out on Twitter because I'm scrolling for memes and I see a bunch of that stuff.
Oh, I see.
But I mean, like, if you do, like, I think something like that is clever. Like, if she is meant to be trans, but it's up in the air, right?
Hmm.
And, like, you just have, like, little cues, like, for example, a super supportive dad with, like, a patch on their uniform. I think that's a clever way of doing it as well.
Hmm.
Is, like, kind of leave it, you can leave these sorts of things, like, open ended without it being, like, we're refusing to confirm because we don't want to support LGBT. You can have a character that's a good, well-rounded character, and their entire character isn't like that they're part of our alphabet mafia essentially, right? Because then it just feels kind of like thrown in the face, and then it just kind of feels like it's just pandering, right?
Right. Yeah, it feels very. It feel it feels like these characters exist to. Yeah, I guess pander is the right word, just to prop up to an audience and say, "Oh, look, here's you. It watch our thing, play our thing because here's you." But it's literally just to get people to buy a game, get people to put, butts in seats at a theater.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's no heart behind it.
Like I remember before Across the Spider Verse came out, before the video game out, my previous roommate is like he's black as well, and he was a little worried about Miles Morales because it's just like, oh, okay, they're making a black Spider-Man to make a black Spider-Man. What is this, right? And then
Mhm.
he's also super into comics as well. He looked into it, and then like the movies came out, and like Miles is a good fucking character.
Mhm.
So he was actually very happy with it in the end because it's just like, all right, this isn't just black to be black because we're fucking sick of that. Whereas I think you have I don't know her name because I'm not really into like Marvel and shit like that. I think it was like Kamala Khan or something like that.
Mhm.
There's
Miss
like
Marvel.
mm, like a Muslim character or something like that, and apparently she didn't. She felt like it was just like, oh yeah, we just made her this for the sake of it, sort of thing. I'm not sure though, and like people can always like correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a lot of the stuff that I heard about her versus like Miles Morales and stuff.
Yeah, and it feels like I kind of agree with that. Um those two examples. Because it's not that like even being Muslim is like Kamala's whole character,
Mm-hmm.
but it might just be that I haven't read a whole lot of things. I'm also really into comics, and I haven't read a whole lot of stuff with her in it. I haven't read a whole lot of all the legacy characters. so I'm unfortunately not speaking from a very knowledgeable stance, but from what I have read, it's her character. How do I word this? I think Miles is a much more nuanced character.
Yeah.
And it might just come from individual authors because in the realm of comics, you know, once you create a character and then leave the company, like once you create a character that's just there for the whole company to use, any author could end up in charge of that character.
The rest of the story, which is why so many things can end up getting retconned, which is why some arcs of like specific superheroes seem more like fanfics because these people grow up and following these heroes and then they want to write their story for it essentially, so they end up getting past the reins and they do that, right?
Yeah, and then there's always like for DC, there's All Star Comics, which is different. You know, that can All Star Comics is just a nebulous run. It's like mostly Superman, but it doesn't have to be Superman. But those are different from like Superman's standalone thing. So there could be, you know, it could be like All Star Batman and regular Batman having two runs at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always very confusing. But I would say that like Miles and Kamala, I'm really happy that these characters exist. But at the same time, like I watched the Miss Marvel show on Disney Plus, and I was not blown away. It could just be fatigue, you know, superhero fatigue
Yeah.
after Marvel is just after Disney's just,
Marvel is everywhere all the time.
yeah, there's pumping out movies and shows and stuff, and it doesn't
I mean,
feel
not anymore, but yeah,
it just
because the strike. But
well yeah. I again that could be like a whole other thing to talk about is just like the fucking strike. But to keep it kind of around this
is he the more? Oh, sorry. Chat.
if I remember correctly, Miles is the more popular. I I wouldn't be surprised. I think his even just like Insomniac's Spider-Man and then Spider-Man Miles Morales, like those two games, I think that like Miles Morales was a more honed experience, and it could just be that it's a sequel, but like it wasn't way too long. Like the first Spider-Man game with Peter Parker, that
The
was
Yuri Lowenthal one?
yeah, I liked it, but you know it was one of like my top games of 2018. But man, there's like
The
after
Miles knocked it out of the park, eh?
yeah, not the Miles Morales game because like it's one of those things where it's like which would you rather have a 10-hour game that you would play twice maybe three times or a 5-hour game that you would play like 8 times, like a game that you would just keep playing. Like the Miles Morales one was just this like perfectly sized experience. I think it was much more but
I'm sorry!
how dare you. No, I think it was just a much more honed experience, and I wouldn't be surprised if Miles is the more popular Spider-Man. Just you know, given the landscape right now.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense.
Enjoyed Spider-Man finally getting. Yeah, no, I thought.
Oh yeah, it's Latino, right?
Yeah, and they got they got who voices him in Across the Spider-Verse? Oscar Isaac. They got Oscar Isaac, who is I don't want to get this wrong. Hang on. I don't want to say that he's like from a country and then get it wrong. That would make me feel like shit.
Yeah, I get that.
Um, he was born in Guatemala.
Ah,
He has been credited with breaking stereotypes about Latino characters in Hollywood. Thank you, Wikipedia. But yeah, no, and Miles too, and just like another dimension to Miles's character is he's his dad is black and his mom is again I don't want to get this wrong.
Latino or Latino.
Yeah, I was gonna again look up the country, but yeah, like there's a great moment in Across the Spider-Verse where like they're speaking Spanish to each other, and that that just feels cool. You know, it feels organic to like build up these characters with all of these. It's one of those, and going back to like tokenism, you know, it's like making somebody's whole thing that they're this isn't an interesting character, but if you have like all these building blocks to make an interesting organic character, that big fan of that.
Yeah, exactly. Another part of the issue was as well, like especially with Hollywood and bigger studios and stuff like that. We're not gonna go but too far back in history, but it's just like, a lot of BIPOC and like of color people are basically catching up and finally getting a foothold in these industries. So now instead of, white characters who may not understand what it's like to be like an impoverished person of color, are writing these characters, and that's why they felt so empty and token. Whereas now you're probably getting a lot more input from actual people who have been through these things and worked their way up,
Mhm.
or even have friends who are like, more impoverished and stuff like that. There's basically just more diversity in the actual like companies and industry itself, that like they're actually getting a little bit more of like a realistic take on what some of these people would be like, which
Yeah,
at the end of the day is just regular people. So
yeah.
we're getting these regular people.
If you're able to write from experience, that speaks volumes more to a character than just imagining how these things would play out. That, like you said, that's hollow. But
Exactly.
yeah,
It's like there's like this whole little meme amongst like women about like males in writing like romantic romance novels, and they're like describing the female, and it's just like all of these like cheesy things, like your like lips were like rubies, and like,
gross.
just all of this like weird stuff, and it's just like, eh. Like it can be romantic, but at the same time, it like gets kind of old the way that you have like just this like regular like little nerdy book girl in the corner, but for some reason she's also like the most beautiful thing, and it kind of feels out of touch with reality and stuff like that a lot of the time.
Absolutely. Oh, excuse me. But whenever whenever I hear or read descriptions of characters who are not, like a man trying to describe a woman. Did you a Tumblr post me the meme
Oh
for?
yeah. Uh, Hold on. Let me open it. She femaled femininely across the room, her breasts breasting breastily. Her jeans were tighter than my actual. Yeah, basically.
Why can't we get more descriptions like that? That is perfect. That is
I would read that book.
absolutely. That feels like a Chuck Tingle for me.
Oh, thank you for that. Hello, Vinyl.
Hey, Vinyl,
Welcome in, welcome in.
what's good? Are you doing okay? You living life?
Live it lavishly.
I'm out of coffee.
True.
I found a drop.
Oh yeah. I guess to like go back into like video gaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A
Oh.
little bit of bro.
Hey,
Hmm?
Hugbug. Hmm.
Oh hey, Hugbug. Hello, welcome in. Um. Okay, so this is something that I saw the other day. I think this was posted, yeah, on the 22nd, so yesterday actually. Ubisoft confirms they will delete your account and purchase games if you go inactive for too long. So basically this is a Twitter. Let me close the image so I can send it. Um, this is another scary thing, and this also can go into like more talk on like digital versus physical. Um, it's basically an email saying like, we notice you have not been using the Ubisoft account associated with email address blank. We have temporarily suspended your inactive Ubisoft account and will be closing it. And then when confronted on Twitter about it, Ubisoft support was like, "Hey there, we just wanted to chime in that you can avoid the account closure by logging into your account within 30 days since receiving the email pictured. and selecting the cancel account closure link contained in the email. We certainly do not want you to lose access to your games or accounts, so if you have any difficulties logging in, then please create a support case with us. Um, so basically, uh, apparently they have rights or something like that to terminate accounts after 6 months or something because of information retention or something. However, it's still very, very shitty that you'd have to like buy all of your games and stuff again. In their defense, I do believe like the amount of time you have to be inactive is 4 years, but I mean like, why wouldn't you just use Steam anyway? Um,
Why would
but
you go
imagine
through?
if Steam started doing that. Imagine if Steam was just like, oh, you haven't logged in a couple of years. It's just like, well, maybe I haven't had a working computer and like I've just been too poor to afford it. Like, there's a whole bunch of like systems and scenarios in which like you just don't log in or something. Maybe you just had a child, so you barely have any time for gaming, and you only really game on your Switch now, or something. Like there's just
Yeah.
a whole bunch of scenarios, and to have everything that you purchased deleted is just such a scary thought. It's all your save files, your achievements, if you care about those.
Yeah, Google is rolling out a similar thing. I got an email from to a couple of my Gmails basically being like, "Hey, if you haven't been logged in for like 2 years." And the way that they worded it, it was to like they it's like we don't want to protect, millions of emails. So we're only going to protect the active emails. So as part of like their security thing, it's like their security team has been stretched too thin. So they're going to start closing really old and active emails. And it was the same thing where it's like just log into that email and it won't be like it'll cycle to the front of the line for that.
That's kind of interesting. I
Yeah,
can understand because, like, for example,
God forbid they hire.
uh,
Absolutely
like, God forbid they hire more workers. Yeah, I know, right? Fucking Google of all places.
was a
It
$1 billion.
like I can see that being a thing. Like, for example, if somebody has died and their account has been inactive for like 5 years and nobody's gonna log on to that fucking account, right? Because like they're dead.
Hmm.
Like some of that stuff kind of makes sense. Or like even people where it's just like I think I had another Gmail when I was like a little kid. It was either that or Hotmail, and like I haven't logged into that for like 10 plus years, so I don't know my login, right? So you can delete that. I'm gonna miss my Adventure Quest account, but like some of it seems like a little bit reasonable in cases like that, especially because a lot of people make burner emails, even if like you're just making accounts on Twitch to bully people. Like that's a thing that happens too. But I feel like it's still like a very weird. It's just still like a very weird scenario just to have like something like using a service and then all of your stuff just gets deleted, sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's
especially
just.
especially when talking about like Ubisoft and it's like these are purchases you've made. And this goes into like a larger issue that I have with digital media. Like, oh, buying a game digitally on like the PlayStation or something. Well, you're not buying the game. You're buying a digital license to play that game, and that can just disappear at any
Whenever
time.
they decide.
Yeah, if they're
Yeah.
not re-upping the license, so you could, go to play a game, and it could say, well, your license ran out. I hope you enjoyed that game, which is like it's similar as I was actually talking about this with Patches yesterday, I think, if you've seen him in my chat, and he
I
was
think so,
talking.
yeah.
And the way that he equated it was like it's like a rental with a mystery date of like when you have to return it or like when it'll disappear, which
Just
is
like the electric car years ago when Arnold, I can't say his last name right correctly, so I'm not gonna try. Arnold Schwartz something. I can never pronounce it right. Anyway, when he was governor of what was it, California, and then they had like the electric cars, and it's like, all right, thank you for your rental, and it's just like, I thought I bought this. I, 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 I thought I bought this to keep.
nope,
Nope.
absolutely horrendous. But
Yeah.
it, because like there's a lot of games that like I have on like my PS3 that I love. I have like the original Spyro trilogy just because it's much easier to have all three games on the PlayStation. I don't have to, get the PlayStation up. They're both plugged in. It doesn't matter. But it's just so much easier to have, this digital library, or even with like current PlayStation stuff. Lots of things are moving towards the digital library. Supposedly, I think it was for Starfield, the next big Bethesda game,
Oh
the
yeah.
the biggest, most expensive version of that game, like the $200 collector's edition. It comes with a statue, lots of in-game stuff, codes for things, will not come with a physical copy of the game.
That's
It'll come with a code. It'll come with a digital code, which baffles me. And originally, from the sound of it, they didn't even want to do physical copies for the game in general. But everybody was confused. What do you mean you're not going to release the game? It's only going to be on the Steam storefront or Xbox. They're owned by Microsoft now, so it's going to be on like the Microsoft Play Store. It's going to be on the Xbox, probably day one on Game Pass, so they're not going to make any money off of it, which is another problem Xbox has. But
yeah.
it's just insane to me that people, they're convinced people will pay $200 for what is essentially like a 10-year rental, with a mystery.
Yeah.
Because the games industry is moving so fast that I wouldn't be surprised, games that only came out a few years ago that are online services are getting shut down. So it's very quickly becoming an issue where, like, oh, I'm gonna pay for, all
All
of.
the gacha games and all of my PNGs that I paid great money to gamble for are all gone now.
Oh my god, that's that's an incredible segue into microtransactions, the true evil of. Oh man.
I think it kind of depends with microtransactions. If it's pay to win, I think it's very, especially gacha, which is essentially just glorified gambling. So it's
Hmm.
amazing how how it's readily available to a lot of children and stuff like that. And it's just like, well, there's more to. I don't remember how they kind of weaseled around that, but it essentially is just like a big slot machine, and you just hope you get the PNG that you're praying for, right?
Hmm.
And I have paid a lot of money for Mikus in these games. Um, I needed the Miku, okay? But I think if it's like optional cosmetics, not necessarily in a battle pass where it forces the fear of missing out,
Hmm.
like FOMO, which they're doing with Diablo 4 now apparently.
Oh,
But
perfect.
yeah. But yeah, if it's just like optional cosmetics to like pimp out your character, like who cares? Right?
Yeah.
If you want to pay money for that stuff and like you're having artists design this stuff, that's fine. As long as it's completely optional and it's not pay to win.
Counterpoint, and this is sort of going back to Activision. Toys for Bob released the remake of the Crash Team Racing, and all the reviews were in. It reviewed really well, and one of the things it was lauded for was that all of the in-game currency you could earn. It wasn't like, oh, go spend $5 and you'll get, so many Wumpa fruit or whatever it is. Like a month and a half after the game released, and all the reviews were in praising the game, they added microtransactions, and it's all cosmetic. It's all cosmetic. You don't have to. You don't have to. But
Yeah.
they nerfed the amount you get just from racing. They halved it or something. So it's like you're now getting less from the game itself, and they want you to go spend these. And so it was something that was like free and easy to get before, and then they
Yeah.
reduced the supply so people will spend that $5-10 nickel and
Yeah.
diming people.
They give you a taste and get you hooked, and now they're praying. Yeah, yeah, okay. I can see that sort of thing as being like awful and stuff like that. But if it's just like your average, like let's say KMMO or whatever, like I don't really know about Maple Story anymore. It's been eons since I played that, but a lot of stuff you'll just have like a free to play MMO and stuff like that, and there's like maybe a couple things you can play for so you can get ahead, but at the same time you're just going for end game raid bosses, and if you just want all of this pretty stuff for your character and a pretty mount, that's kind of okay. But when it becomes like a little predatory where it's just like, it's a lot easier to get the stuff that you want, especially like what you mentioned, or even like gachas where it's just like, you can be good with regular characters, but you're not really going to get that far. And if you want to get far, you have to keep getting new uh game-breaking characters because we had to break the game and make them more overpowered so that we could make more overpowered bosses for you to fight that you can't fight without them, and there's a lot of gachas that do that. Valkyrie Connect is one of them. I actually met my good friend who I did my first VTuber design for through a gacha game, through Valkyrie Connect. And oh gosh, we can tell you how awful that game was. There was like one character that they made a little too game breaking, so they kept trying to release characters, including one of the Mikus, that would be able to counter her. And it was very difficult for them to do, so they had to keep like just making all these game breaking characters, trying to make the character that they made that trying to break the character that they made that broke the game, and it was just awful, and their gacha rates were low, and it's however, there are some gacha games that are pretty fair, I will say, in defense, where there was one called Dragalia Lost, and I kind of fell off of it for the last 2 years it was in service, but the rates were decent. And the thing is like the end game content at the first like year or two is something you could get was really easy to pull 3 and 4 star characters. Like they had to be specific characters and you had to play a little more carefully because they weren't as strong. But the thing is that you could use these low level characters and still do the high dragon trials and run with people, even if they had like the 5, 6, or they only had 5 stars, not 6 stars, but the 5 star characters and stuff like that. They had ways that you could upgrade them. And then when I went back to play a little bit later before it closed down, they had actually, for some of these lower level characters, added um there's like this sort of spiral thing. I forget what it was called, but it would add like levels to your passive skills and active skills. It would give you HP, attack ups, that sort of thing. They added extra spirals to these characters so that they could become a little more powerful to try and keep the game balanced as they released more difficult things for people to play, and it was just a very, very well handled game, despite being a gacha. It was like, you don't have to pay out the ass to try and get like all of these cool crossover characters to beat this event. You can do it with regular characters, and if you so happen to get lucky, there you go. Right?
You
It
don't
was completely playable if you never pulled a 5 star.
you don't need the special Persona 5 Joker from 2 years ago to.
Yeah.
Yeah, my partner plays a. I don't want to call it a gotcha game. She plays Fire Emblem Heroes.
It's a gotcha game.
It has the gotcha mechanic. I mean, like it. I don't like. I don't like the what do you tactics. I don't like the tactics game. So I was just
Oh, you don't?
no. I don't. I've tried playing Fire Emblem. I really have, and it's
Ah, that's fair.
just not
I
really.
guess FF Tactics, Disgaea is off the table as well.
You are like the third person who has asked it, and I'll download an emulator. I'll try it. I will absolutely try to. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But like
Mhm.
power creep is just a thing. Any
Yep.
online service game, power creep is just a thing that will happen. I'm big into like the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game and Magic the Gathering, and power creep isn't as bad as Magic doesn't have terrible power creep. It goes through like big steps, but the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG, falling out of it like a decade ago and then trying to get back into it.
Once I added synchros, I was just like, no thanks. I don't know what this means anymore. You mean I can't take a 4,000 and beat your ass with it? Because now you have a Wadapon that can synchro with, like, Time Wizard and do some weird effect that never existed before, and now my 4,000 doesn't matter anymore, and I'm instantly dead? Can you not do this? Can we just go back to 4,000 beating you
Yeah,
in the head with a giant monster instead?
but like power creep is the thing that will show up in pretty much any ongoing game, whether it's a live service game or a TCG. It's just a thing that will happen.
Yep.
And I've heard that for certain, like for Fire Emblem Heroes, I've heard that there's certain they've had to restructure entire classes because the power creep got so bad that like there was just an entire class of character that was just not viable. So they announced recently that like, oh, we're restructuring, like the update tomorrow is going to restructure this entire class, and everybody's just like, what are you talking about? This has never happened before. So when you power creep in a game, when it gets so bad to where you have to crack your own game open and do some rewiring,
I think I would prefer the rewiring other than just pushing the power creep and pushing the power creep and pushing the power creep, because then it shows you're actually kind of like paying attention to some of the old units, some of the old good gadgetables.
Hmm.
And it can be a sticky situation because you can have like character types that you really like, especially if it's a little more of like an action game sort of thing. And then you end up changing how that character plays a little bit or how it feels to play or something like that, and then a lot of people will get upset. So it is a little bit of a sticky situation, but that's like taking care into catching up old mechanics with the new ones, I feel. And despite like Power Creep being like its own slippery slope in general, it could be wrong for Fire Emblem Heroes, but I still feel like that sort of thing is like taking a little more care than to just say, "Oh yeah, all those units you paid out the ass for 2 years ago, they don't mean anything now," right?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because then it's just like, oh, I can actually still use these units because they're trying to like catch them up and adjust everything, and
And
that takes a lot more effort than to just like program a new powerful thing and make everybody try and like spin the roulette to get that.
yeah, it feels, and that goes back to like the pay to win kind of thing. Especially, I don't know if I don't know if Heroes has like a PvP mode where like you play other people with their units, but if you have like this pay to win model with like a PvP game, I can't remember which game it was originally that started this trend, but I know it was finally like the breaking point was that Star Wars Battlefront 2 from like 2015, where like it was like, oh, you could play for like 50 hours and unlock Darth Vader with his, everybody's playing with guns. It's like you could unlock the sword guy after 50 hours, or you could pay us $20 and get him now.
Yeah. I mean, at least there's still a way to get it for free, right? It's just like, hey, to keep these servers running, we need money, so we're gonna offer it to you for money, but you can still get it if you don't want to pay money, which I will still appreciate. It's pay to win, like it goes into pay to win, but there's like some aspects where it's just like there was a MMO I used to play with my mother called Trickster Online, and it was very cute and stuff like that, and it was really good. We were hooked on it. We had a guild and everything. It was great, but it did have cash shop weapons and items that actually gave you stats and set boosts. So you could try grinding these hard dungeons for the boss sets, which are still like a little bit better in some cases than the cash shop stuff, or you can just get like the cash shop stuff and then just be instantly good for your level. And they had them for different levels. So like I don't remember what the level cap was, like 500. Like it was like a really high level cap sort of thing, but it
Mhm.
had like a lot of like content, a lot of areas, and a lot of like zone bosses for like level 1 to 75, level 75 to 150, 150 to 125. Um, but there were still these cash shop items that would actually give you like stat boosts. So like instead of using like a regular staff that you were able to use on your magic characters that you could acquire in the game through drops or other means, you could just go into the cash shop and buy one of the staves that were in there, and that would just give you all the stats, and then you can just go and play the content. Which was that I didn't mind it at the time, especially because I was a child and like my mom did. My mom occasionally bought us some of that stuff, just on occasion and whatnot.
Mhm.
But in general, that's the sort of thing that I mean when it's like pay to win, when it's just like you just have like all of these OP things that you just can't get without paying money for it. And then like people buy that and they break the game and it's like whatever.
Yeah, let me see if I can find. Oh, I did find, going way back, I did find an article about what happened with ActaBliz and that
Oh yeah.
settlement. Looks like they had to pay 35 million to settle claims, which I don't know. I feel like some people should have gone to jail if you just put a monetary value on crimes like, you know,
It
sexual
feels like
sexual assault. If you put a it feels like
yeah.
it's illegal for a price, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
which is the awful thing. I mean, rich people already don't go to jail anyway.
yeah. But I just want to see examples of pay to win games. Let's see if we can.
Any gotcha.
The first one that came up was highlighted Clash of Clans. I
Yeah, there you go.
I never played
Yeah,
Clash.
the oldest mobile game in the book. There's also Farmville. Remember Farmville?
Oh my god.
The only reason I played the heck out of that game is because I was trying to get all of the cows possible.
Mhm. All
Because
of
they
the
had like
cows?
alien cows, they had strawberry cows, they had so many different kinds of cows, and I like cows.
Cows cows are cool, but just like not even just to be like I wanted to have a great farm. It's like I needed to have a row of every cow.
Yeah, all of my like silos and everything was like cow print too, and then I got the alien cow print ones, and they were like green with cow spots. I was happy. Hell yeah.
Oh, the big one. I found it. FIFA. The FIFA games are
Oof.
absolutely atrocious with this. And the thing is, they have a thing. I think it's called Ultimate Team Mode encourages players. This is hang on. This is an article from Xfire. I will drop that. Um, Battle.
That did that break? Let me see.
Oh shit!
No, that didn't break.
Okay.
It worked.
By Hassan Sajid, The Battle for Balance, Pay to Win Games and Their Impact on Gaming Culture. So
Yeah.
this is a little thing.
Fortnite.
Yeah. But again, Fortnite is like, I mean,
This is decent. I might read this later.
is Fortnite, because I was excited for Fortnite when it got announced. I remember watching the first trailer and it was literally just a 4-player survival mode. You're in a little building, you have to build up the defenses, and I think the mode is called like Save the World or something, and it's just like waves of zombies coming in, and you and friends are just defending this little base. That's what I was excited for because it looks nice. You know,
That isn't even what Fortnite is, is it? Do they
that
have that?
that was that was there upon release. However,
Oh,
they also saw what games like oh, not Project Zomboid. What was the first big uh battle
Call of
royale?
Duty Zombies? Oh, PUBG.
PUBG, thank you. They saw what PUBG was doing and they were like, we can do that. So the paid for version of Fortnite became Save the World, the game that they were pitching. And then they were like, there's also this free game mode for Fortnite, and that's the whole save not save the world, the whole battle royale thing. But
Yeah.
a lot of it is cosmetic. However, I've seen they add some things with new skins, like they added Dragon Ball characters, and then all of a sudden there was like laser attacks.
Mia Mommy.
Oh my god. When people couldn't pronounce Kamehameha, that made me so.
It
I,
hurt.
I don't even like Dragon Ball, and even I understand. But like,
It hurt.
they added like spider skins, Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, they added those skins. They added.
Ariana Grande.
Well, I'm thinking about the ones that changed up gameplay, because
Oh. They changed it? Oh, wait, yeah, they have Naruto ones as well now.
yeah, and like those characters have special abilities. They added Attack on Titan characters that now also have the same kind of grapple abilities that the spider characters have. Like those, they mechanically work very similar.
Huh.
So, at what point do you? Because it's always like, oh, it's cosmetic. You don't need the Goku skin. Well,
Yeah, but it does different stuff. They also added. Oh no, I think anybody could get like the Thanos fist and turn into Thanos for a bit, but I remember that was a thing. I don't remember how Thanos worked.
I've never played Fortnite, so once again, I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. But
I've never played it either, but I just remember there was like a way that you could get like the fist thingy,
mhm.
and then you could turn into Thanos for a little bit. But like if that's something that like is in the game mode and anybody can go and grab it and become Thanos, then I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, let's hear it for anti-Fortnite gang. Oh, but yeah, going back to FIFA, just right above in this article. I'm just gonna read this out. FIFA's Ultimate Team mode encourages players to spend money on their iteration of the loot boxes called packs. These packs contain different players. When players spend money on them, there's a chance of them getting a very high-rated football player for their team. Higher rating, the better their team perform against other players. So this is a loot box mechanic, this is a gacha mechanic that has will give you like a bunch of random units, and there's a percentage chance of actually getting a good unit. And this is in a player versus player scenario. So it's like spending money at a percentage of a chance of
Of
getting
being
something
better.
of yeah.
And
And
then that bleeds into like, especially if they have, like how they have like Pokemon Worlds or something, if they have any sort of like championship and stuff like that.
mhm.
Like for example, even in Pokemon Unite. Oh, there we go. There's another good one. So there's still kind of like a max level on stuff. So there's like, God, there's items. There's like hold items. So like your choice specs, wise glasses, other like hold items from the actual games, and you can level those up to like level 20 or level 30, as well as like your character profile, and your character profile determines on which hold items and stuff you can get. So basically people who paid more to get stuff to level up these items would get better advantage, especially at the very early stages of the game. It was very pay to win, but it did have a ceiling. But it's still just like for the first season of Masters and everything like that, it's really hard because a lot of people pay to level up all these items, so they're like a percentage stronger than
Mm.
other people. So like they're hitting a little bit harder because they have like their levels like maxed out, and you just have like a level 7 item on your guy or whatever on your Pokemon. So that was like kind of a thing. The Valkyrie Connect gacha game that I was talking about as well also had an arena, and with that arena, the higher your ranking, the more of like the free gacha currency you could get. Um, or not even the free one, just the gacha currency, because there's some games that'll split up the free gacha currency and the premium gacha currency.
Yep.
So anything you can earn in the game for gacha, you can only use on the free ones, and then for the premium ones, they'll have this special your first 10 times pull, you get one of these units guaranteed sort of thing, but you can only pay money for that. And then they'll have like leaderboards and like arenas where it's just like as long as you paid out the butt to get this overpowered unit, you'll be fine. Which was the biggest problem with the Squire, the broken unit in Valkyrie Connect that they kept trying to break for like a year, because she was so good in arena. If you didn't have her or the perfect counter for her at the time, um, you would basically just not be able to beat the team because she just puts reflect on everything, and and all of your characters will just kill themselves by attacking the enemy, and it's really, really, really stupid.
Damn.
Yeah, so the only way to get past her was to like basically at the beginning of the thing have a chance to inflict a status so that they don't put up the reflect when their skill charges, and it was really, really bad. So they spent like a majority of the rest of the time trying to break that character because they made it too strong.
I just want to know what goes
And
into the development of that. Who pitches that, and like how many people
I
have to
don't know.
agree and be like, okay, so I want to make a character that has an ability that charges up. So it's not a round one thing, but it's just they're gonna put up a reflect. So basically, there's a timer on the opponent. It's like kill this character in so many rounds before this reflect goes up. Otherwise, you're fucked, and it's just
Yeah, and
impossible
then
to win.
yeah, there were like a back. There were like a there's like kind of like different sections. There'll be like the middle, and then you'll have skills that'll hit the front 3 units, and then the back 3 units, and then you have 5 units. So you have to have a character that can inflict like a sort of stun thing, but at the same time, there's equipments in the game that you can get also through gacha that can prevent status effects by a certain percentage and all of this stuff. So you just stack that on her. So it was a pretty like well-rounded like little game, and they would like automatically fight and stuff like that. But they did too many like things to like break it that made it like way too overpowered, and it was just kind of awful, and the rates were low and very predatory. And it's just like when you have like player versus player stuff like that and it becomes pay to win, it's just not fun anymore because it's just like, well, who has the biggest wallet? That's all it is. How much money can you pay? Or how much money do you have to pay before you get lucky? And it's like, I just want to play a game.
And that's the root of the problem is, you can, because the question is, because we could complain forever about all the things we hate about this, but it's like, it's like how do you as a consumer fix the problem? And it's speaking with your wallet.
Yep.
Well, this is very lucrative because there's that like minority who's just like, I have so much expendable income, I'm gonna waste it on a gotcha game. So all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, speaking with wallets, it's very lucrative because it's the what is that? It's the instead of instead of because there is no statistic on the people who aren't paying for that, since the number for that is $0 because they're not spending anything on it.
Yep.
They just see the number of people they see the amount of money that it is making them. So regardless of, oh, they make 20, we'll just throw a number out there. They make $20 million on these games a year when there's 50 million people playing it. All of a sudden it's more about like, oh, well, that's, that means that, 50% of people are spending $1 on it is how almost 50% of people are spending $1 on it. But that's not how statistics break down. That's not real.
Not really, yeah. Exactly. And then you have like a lot of these people who end up quitting the game and not spending any money because at the beginning when like sometimes maybe you're unemployed and you get bored so you're like on your phone playing a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into it but it's a whole bunch of pay to win stuff and then you're just like, okay, I don't want to play this game anymore, and then they get a job and they spend their money on a different gadget. It's like, it's not really like a fair representation of it
No,
because like, and it kind of deters people from actually wanting to like get into it if they're not already at the top or can't easily get to the top or like anywhere remotely close, and then you're not really having fun with the game, especially when it's like a huge PvP aspect. It's like if League of Legends was pay to win, right?
I would I would want so desperately for something to happen to that game to make it fall apart.
Yeah.
Not
I
to
mean, I like MOBAs. I played the shit out of Heroes of the Storm, which is Blizzard's.
Yeah,
And then, okay, going into back to the topic of going in and changing characters. My favorite character was a really good backdoor unit. Basically, you could summon minions and like kind of just run past and attack the core. And they took away his ability to do that, and they nerfed him so badly, and they turned him, instead of like a laner pusher type of character, they turned him into just like sort of like ADC or something. Basically, just like a they try. It's basically like if you took a character that I don't really know League of Legends very well, but if
me
it's
either.
basically like if you took a character that's basically purpose is to be able to take down towers, and then you made them just a character that's supposed to team fight while keeping all of their skills, and it was just awful, and they completely ruined like my best and favorite character to play. And it's just like, what the fuck are you gonna do that? And like everybody, especially on the YouTube, when they showed the rework on YouTube and everything like that, because I used to follow their fucking YouTube for all the updates because I was really into this fucking game.
Mm-hmm.
It was just kind of awful. The thing about that was a lot better than League of Legends in my opinion, especially when I started playing. They had shared team deaths. And you level up as a team, and instead of getting like gold advantage and buying items, you have talents that you can use to augment or give yourself new abilities and stuff like that as you level up, all as a team. So even if one person's carrying the team for the most part, everybody still levels up and everybody gets to level 15 at the same time. So
Okay.
it was very like team friendly in that aspect, which I really liked. And then they started changing some of the things to be a little more like League. Some of them made sense. Like for example, if there's minions under a tower and you're attacking an enemy hero, the tower wouldn't retarget to you because you're attacking the hero. So they did that. They changed that. The towers also used to have ammo, and they used to run out of ammo. They changed that because then that would make it like way too easy to push.
Right.
But it was just like a really really interesting like clash of like different character types as well, because you have World of Warcraft versus StarCraft versus Overwatch versus Diablo. So there was like a lot of stuff in there I really liked, but they ended up going in and changing a whole bunch of shit and changing like a whole bunch of the game, and then they gave up on their own competitive, like they gave up on their own professional scene, and then it just
Oh
fell
my
apart from
god.
there.
Yeah, my MOBA of choice was Smite, and that was
Ah.
years ago.
You can't see behind you, it gives me anxiety.
Huh?
You can't
Oh,
see behind you in
yeah.
that game very well because it's third person. It gives me so much anxiety because I can't like pan the camera. I'm just stuck where I am, and I'm just like
Yeah, no, that
I can't sneak over and see what's going on over there.
and that's kind of what like drove me to it in terms of MOBAs, just because well, first of all, I had friends playing it. Hugbug, who was here earlier in chat, he was one of the guys I played Smite with. And
Who'd you main, Amuzen or
I
Acme?
I mained Chang'e, the Chinese goddess of the moon.
Oh, I don't think I know. I don't
She,
think I know her.
she her abilities were like big forward swipes, and then
Really
mostly
nice.
yeah, mostly AoEs. So like her whole gameplay style would be like you you jump in and you spam all your AoEs, and then she had an escape.
Oh,
So yeah,
having an escape is so good on MOBA characters,
mhm.
honestly.
No, I was a big fan of her escape. It wasn't so much just like a teleport as it was like a this is gonna make you a little bit faster and you're gonna take less damage, so you're able just to run. But it was still something. But I just remember because like she wasn't the only character I played. I liked I was that person who would fill the slot on the team because there was three of us and we would play the sometimes we would just play the 3v3, but there's also like a 5v5. So like I would just fill slots on the team. Whatever they wanted to play, I'll fill a slot to. I
That's
had
what I usually did too. Whenever I had an option, I would play my backdoor guy.
yeah,
Going in the back door. Um,
please.
and then
You were doing so
a lot
well.
of the time I had tanks and healers that I could play, and that game taught me how to tank because I couldn't tank in Dota when I used to play Dota. Like I couldn't do melee characters. I couldn't figure it out, especially with the way the towers worked. But it was really easy to learn like Artemis. It was very easy to learn oh my god, Leoric, who is a Diablo. It was very easy to learn Muradin. So I ended up becoming like a tank main, and then I went back to play League a little bit with one of my exes, and we were doing ARAM, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing as a Mumu, but I just wreck shit because I'm good at tanking now, and I'm just like I like being able to like not or take all of the damage and just not fucking die.
It feels good, but I just remember with Smite's setup because there were loadouts. Like you would buy equipment over the course of the game, and level up that
Yeah, your
equipment.
skins. Oh, it has equipment. I see.
Yeah, so like you would there were ways to it wasn't like Overwatch where like with Overwatch characters there isn't like a way to play a character. It's that each character has a play style. If you want to play X kind of character, they have a character for that. There isn't like, oh, you could build Mercy and all you could play Mercy in all these different ways. No, Mercy has a play style. If you want to play as a Mercy, you're gonna play as Mercy. But
Yeah.
um Paladins, high res. Speaking of Smite, high res's answer to Overwatch, which is Paladins, also had a loadout system, so it was different in that respect, and it was nice. But I just remember that was like my introduction to patches and fixes like that, because it would be like, hey, this piece of equipment doesn't scale the same anymore. Like when I level it up, what's going on with that? Or that's weird. This character's taking way more damage than I remember them taking, and it was like my friends would tell me it's like, oh yeah, no, they nerfed this character, or they fixed this, they patched that. And I just remember thinking, like, if you didn't get it right in the first place, why would you release it? Isn't that the point of beta testing? Like,
Yeah.
that was
And
just.
then like Blizzard has like PTRs and stuff like that, but sometimes there's like little spots on little maps that has like a little bug. I don't really understand programming too well, but like there's a little spot and a little thing right here, right there. Like some of the patch notes that I would read seemed like such a specific particular instance that maybe it was overlooked.
Oh,
And like yeah, like basically if you're on this map and you use the skill at this on this character with this much health, instead of reducing them to 1 health, it actually just kills them, and it's like, well, that's extremely particular.
yeah,
But
no.
at the same time, it's like I think it's also just because of like, and this I guess segues into release dates and pushing games and stuff before they're ready. So I mean, we all know Cybercrunk,
Hmm.
but like if it's not ready, don't release it. But when you have a whole bunch of investors and a whole bunch of CEOs like knocking at your door, like why aren't we making money off of this yet? Which was CD Projekt Red's mistake there.
Hmm.
And I believe that was the main issue and the main reason why they released it the way that they did was because people who have no idea how video games work are saying you have to like release this now. And I feel like it's the same with like a lot of characters and stuff like that because you can just outright buy characters instead of grinding the regular money in a lot of these MOBAs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I bought
and
the.
play with them while they're still overpowered. Plus, I remember with Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard would release the character, and the character would always be overpowered for the first like 2 weeks, and it's just like, well, now you buy this character and have fun with them while they're overpowered. And that was the thing. It was kind of fun in its own right, especially if you did actually go for the character, but like sometimes it was like, do you
If you're
mind?
if you're on the receiving end of that, it's not fun. But speaking of like crunch culture, like at least me as a consumer, I am okay waiting. If you just release a good game, I'll be here waiting for that game. It's fine.
Exactly.
But it's always the producers, it's always the distributors, the
See,
people. Developers are always like, give us time. We need to. People who are making the game, it's like, please,
programming's not as simple as they think it is.
no, not at all. And like, that's unfortunately like, there's only so much to that I can speak to. Not a programmer. I don't make the games. But again, speaking as a consumer with your wallet, it's like, do you, if you know a game, like when Cyberpunk came out, it was like, okay, this game isn't reviewing very well. It's, it suffered from crunch. We know it suffered from crunch. It was a very public thing that, they kept pushing it back and the work conditions were bad. It's like, if I buy this, I'm condoning this behavior to being like, regardless of crunch, I'm still going to buy it at launch. If I don't buy it, the developers are the ones who are the people who made the game are the ones who are going to suffer because people are
Yeah, exactly.
they're going to look at the numbers and be like, "Hey, this didn't do very well. You didn't make a good game." When it's like a conscientious boycott to the working conditions that you're forcing your employees into.
Yeah. And it's like it becomes a slippery slope because it's like the ones who put the most effort into trying to get this product to you are the ones that suffer for it most, but at the same time you don't want to support the company because they're just going to continue promoting and proliferating that sort of behavior because it worked in the first place, especially if the game that comes out actually worked. Like I remember the big thing when Last of Us 2, like, that's a sticky situation I'm not going to get into, especially because I never played the games, but Last of Us 2 got Game of the Year when it was notorious for having a whole bunch of crunch to it, and it's just like, how are you gonna award this? I mean, like, this is why, like, all of those award ceremonies, they were bullshit for Grammys and Emmys. I don't know why people think they would be legitimate when it comes to video games. Like, it's all, like, staged and shit.
Exactly.
But the same way with like IGM and Metacritic scores, but it's like if you're actually putting like all of these like pushing these terrible working conditions on your studio and the people who are making this game of the year for you, you shouldn't really be getting game of the year. If you take like even if you look at like Concerned Ape, he makes video games all by his heckin' self. Like
Mm-hmm.
Solo. He made Stardew Valley, and then there's all these Stardew Valley lakes. Although to be honest, it's their Harvest Moon slash Story of Seasons lakes,
Hmm.
and that, but everybody calls it Stardew Lake because only people only really know Stardew, and then they're like, oh, what's this game from Japan that looks like Stardew? And it's just like it's called Rune Factory, and it existed. Anyway,
It's been around.
sorry,
It's been around
that's
for so
me
much
being
longer.
a fucking hipster. Um, but like
I don't think you're a hipster for
worked on
liking
it
Story of Seasons.
all
I
of the
mean,
yeah. But it's like there was this fucking story, like he did the entire thing by him fucking self, and look how good it is, and look how well it came out because he put all of this time and care into it. He had nobody pushing him to do it, and it's like if you take the time to actually put care into your stuff, it can become successful and spawn a whole bunch of, love letters to it. Like I don't know about the studio for Dark Souls, but I mean like Souls like is a huge thing that happens now.
hmm
Um, Metroidvanias, for example, right? But you're not really gonna inspire a lot of people and by being inspired by like Stardew Valley brings more attention back to Stardew Valley and just creates like success and stuff like that. And it's just proof that if you just like let your developers take the time and care that they need to create something great, it can be great.
um,
But
you,
it's all about deadlines and their wallets, right?
you got me interested, so I'm looking at FromSoft, the company who makes the Dark Souls and
Yeah,
Elden Ring
from
stuff.
Soft.
During critical periods, this is a former employee. During critical periods of game releases, I often had to work early mornings and overtime for 2 to 3 months. General industry in Japan is not that crazy compared to my experience in other fields. Japan has a lot of holidays, and there's a rule that FromSoft staff shouldn't stay later than 10 p.m. 90% of the time, staff won't stay later than 9 p.m. This is an interesting, and
Work culture in Japan is also very different in and of itself.
yeah,
So it's a little hard to judge based on our standards because they do have like that whole thing where people will literally just work themselves to death. I think they do have slightly longer working hours, like even school hours are longer. Like you go in at like 7, 8 o'clock and you don't leave until like the sun's setting, right?
something
You
like
leave at
that.
like 5 o'clock or something like that. So it's like a more full workday sort of thing for school. I forget exactly. It's been a little while, but like the work culture there is very strict, and like they expect a lot of people to put passion on the work, and they have a lot of passion in Japan as well. But they will let people like just stay and work if they want to. As for crunch, they can force it as well, which has happened, but like a lot of people will just stay at the office for like however long and stuff.
I actually have a source here. Just thinking about workplace stuff in Japan. This is a book I read recently. About it's called the oh what's the give me the it's a long title, so of course it's gonna like dot 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 like just what if I click on this? Okay, here we go. The Works of Fumito Ueda: A Different Perspective on Video Games by Damien McCary.
Huh.
And Fumito Ueda was the guy behind Shadow of the Colossus, Eco, Last Guardian. Lots of beautiful games. Very specific, like he had a vision for those games. And there was a whole chapter in this book talking about the perspective of like how Japanese game developers perceive their work, and certain people like Fumito Ueda, Hideo Kojima, they don't perceive their work, video games, as an art form. They said that there can be art within video games, but the medium itself is not. They see it more as a service. They're providing a service for consumers. So I feel like that's also kind of a barrier because in the West, we put a lot of stock into the humanity in things. There's art in this, and especially in in more privileged countries. There's a lot of like, oh, you can be whatever you want to be. You could be an artist coming from a person who just graduated with a degree in film.
Yeah.
I, but I digress.
I mean, look what I do for like part of a living is our commissions and stuff like that.
But it comes down to this whole like this idea of um this how do I articulate this? This perception of your craft. You know, you have you have an idea, and it's not so much like a piece of art that will go up in a museum, but since there's going to be interaction, there's going to be a physical person who goes out and purchases your video game the same way that they purchase, all these other pieces of media. Yeah,
luxury products, I would say.
luxury products. That's a great way to put it. It's considered, it's a service because the video games started in arcades as a
Hmm.
service. People would go there to spend money on entertainment, same as like a movie theater. People would go to these places, spend money on entertainment. And I just feel like this cycle of, since it's a service, it's for monetary gain, that cycle will always continue. And I think I mentioned this a little bit in a Discord message where like the pipeline between like microtransactions, spending $5 on a Wumpa Fruit in Crash Team Racing, there's a pipeline going back to like Galaga in an arcade and like
Yeah.
quarter crunchers where it's like, we designed this game to be really hard, so you just keep
Have to
funneling.
keep Yeah, you have to keep putting the coin in to continue because you got this far, why stop now?
Exactly.
Like those zombie shooter ones you have and stuff, yeah.
I
Insert coin to continue and you have like a little timer, it's just like quarter, quarter,
Yeah,
quarter,
I
quarter.
see a pipeline there in my head of
Yep.
like, it's just the gaming industry finding new ways, because when home console stuff first started coming around, like Atari, uh, the Famicom, when all this was starting, people were like, they're only going to pay for our game once? That's lunacy. What do you mean they're only going to pay for our game once? But they could charge, I think it was like super expensive. Like back when games were on cartridges, it was like,
Well, expensive for the time.
I think even expensive now. Like you hear about, because if you think about like what games are now, like would you pay $60 on release for the original Mario game compared to like what we have now for paying $60 on release?
Yeah.
Hate spending money on
That's
towards a game. Pointless to buy stuff at those stores. Just have the service pulled one day. Exactly.
Yep, that too. Like I had a quote earlier, but it was just like, no, all of the PNGs that I gambled for are going away because they're closing the service down. All of my precious PNGs.
No, that's not what I wanted. I don't care how much new Xbox games are.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying though. Like some of them would still be like $70 and stuff like that. I mean, the thing is yeah, and then you see a lot of that with a lot of like indie pixel art games and stuff like that, where it's just like they're not gonna charge a lot, even though they put a lot of effort into it, just because it's like people are paying. Well, in Canada, it's $79.99 for a game title. So, and then with Ontario tax, it basically is $90 per game per AAA title
Yeah,
here.
here it's
So
like
it's like 60, right?
69.99 USD, so like $70 after tax. At least where I live, just under 80. But
I see.
I found a thing here from somebody. Somebody asked. This is on like Quora.
Cora.
Yeah. Um, for NES games. New games were about $60 adjusted. This is from 4 years ago. Adjusted for inflation, that's like $130. And SNES games were $80 on release. That is more expensive than games are now.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
like,
mean, in Canada it's $80, but then that would be like $95 Canadian.
Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna do some math real quick. Okay, so if it was 80 USD, inflation calculator. I'm gonna do an inflation calculation and then do USD to,
CAD.
yeah, uh, Bureau of Labor Statistics. But yeah, like the whole thing just kind of comes down to greed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's but like how do you resolve?
That just goes into capitalism in general. It's like you want to survive, but you want to be able to survive with the things that you like and the food that you want to eat. And then a lot of that spirals way past the terms of survival into the terms of, well, now I'm just gonna have a house that I only use 2 rooms of, even though it has 20, and now I'm just gonna have, well, even me, like, don't ask how much I've spent on Hachunemiu figures.
All right,
You know, we all have little things that we want, but
I've done some conversions. It looks like roughly, um, if you were to buy an SNES game, like SNES game USD from back when that first came out to now, that would be just over, little bit over 300 Canadian currency. It just Google just gives me Canadian dollar, which doesn't sound right, but I don't know.
yeah, well, no, it's Canadian dollar.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, dollars. What do you think we call them? Maple syrups here?
No, I didn't know was the thing, and I'm not gonna be like, because it feels very. I wouldn't be surprised. Like it feels very like America centric to be
Yeah,
like
I
everybody
had to pay
uses
29
dollars.
moose there. I had to pay 29 moose for that, eh?
Um, but you know what I
I
mean.
only paid 22 beavers. What do you want about? I'm sorry.
Look, y'all have coins called loonies and toonies. I know that much.
Yeah.
That's not real. That's monopoly money. That's fake. That's
Have you seen the color? Have you seen the color of our currency? Oh, here.
can
Hold
can
on.
I'm just gonna type in Canadian dollar.
Look at this. I got a polar bear for my loom. Look how colorful this is.
There's a
And
really
it's plastic.
it's
So like
plastic.
you can rip it, but like mostly kind of plastic. Like if you pour water on it, like here, hold on. I'll do this. It's just a little bit of like vape juice, and then and then it just kind of stays on.
I can't
Oh,
see
you
that.
can't see it. There's like a little, oh
Oh wow.
shit, like it just kind of drips down, right? Like they don't get wet.
I'm looking at these and I mean like
We have monopoly money. You are correct there.
I guess for like quick identification, it's good to have each amount be a different color.
Color.
Yeah, just so you can real quick look and be like, nope, I don't have these.
Yep,
Like,
that's a city.
my God. But also, I really wish I want gamers to take over, and I want them to reorder the coloring system so it's the rarity of like every
Oh my
game.
god, yes.
Like a single dollar is like white, and then it's like green, blue, purple. It's the rarity.
Orange,
Yeah,
rainbow.
you got a polar bear from Balloon. Oh,
Gosh.
Canada's
Fuck, we were
whack.
talking about like crunch time. I wanted to go back and make a point. Like,
Yeah.
there is so Nintendo. The thing is that TPC has, sorry, the Pokemon Company has had to do postpones on games before. They did it with the fourth generation, I believe, Diamond and Pearl. But the one thing there is that like they don't make as much money from their games as they do from everything else. TCG, plushies, merch, all of that stuff, right?
Mm.
Because Pokemon is the largest franchise in.
Yeah, highest grossing of like anything ever.
Yes. Um so with that in mind, because they don't make money off the games per se, um to approve merchandise in the EU, you need like what was it, 24, 36, 48 months or something like that. You need like a ridiculous amount of time. So basically you have to conceptualize all of these Pokemon for a game, and then you have to pitch the merch to the EU, and then you start making the game. Well, no, like the game probably takes a lot longer. They start working on the game at the same time and stuff like that. But because of that, and they have this release date for the merch in the EU, it's really hard for them to push back and delay the game, because then you're going to have plushies of all of these Pokemon that nobody has ever seen outside of leaks
And it's gonna spoil the
on the
game.
shelves, and they're going to be like, well, what the fuck is a tarantula? I've never played the game because it's not out. Like, you know what I mean? And you kind of can't have that. So I think that definitely had a big thing to do with the issue for Scarlet and Violet release being a lot like Cyberpunk. Which isn't necessarily like a defense, but it's still something to consider in some
Mm-hmm.
of these things where it's like, okay, well, if they want to push this back or if they want to like change any of it, they're going to have to wait months and months and months again, and they need this merch to release at the same time because everyone's going to see, oh, the Tinkaton is so cute. I want a plushie of this, and they have to wait like 18 months for it to come out instead of just running to the store when the game drops.
Right.
So, from a business perspective, it is really hard to like get around that, right? I'm
Yeah.
not saying I don't fault them, but it's just like there are like little things behind the scenes that even we not may not necessarily fully understand as consumers. And unfortunately, with like, capitalism and business, you do have to consider what makes a profit. Otherwise, we're not going to have Pokemon anymore.
Yo, this is something that like we did in my schooling for film. We do kind of can you believe the games exist just way back then employees aren't selling your series. Yeah, that's
I
even
hmm. I mean, it depends. If it comes to something like Skylanders or like something stupid like that, I hated Skylanders. I'm sorry, it was stupid. Um, where it's just like, oh, you make a game to sell toys and stuff like that, or even like there's a couple other instances of that too that I can't think of right now. I don't know if it was like Ninja Turtles or Neopets or something like that. There's basically some video games that were made to sell the toys, or no, GI Joe I think was a show made to sell the toys, something like that. In terms of like Pokemon itself, the game was very popular and was very successful at first. So now it sells toys and stuff like that, and because you get to keep consumers fresh, especially with kids and stuff like that, you have to like, oh, I'm sorry.
no. You said that, and I just look over. It's a problem. It's a problem. I have a problem. It's fine.
It's okay. I wanted to get into it, but I didn't have the money to get into it because I'm like, this is Spyro, but it also didn't feel like Spyro
No,
anymore.
it
So I'm
absolutely.
just like, this doesn't feel like Spyro anymore.
Spyro looked gross, and he was just lost in a sea of other OCs. It's not a Spyro experience. But
Yeah.
speaking to the point of like merchandising, and there's all these other things that go into making a successful franchise, because a successful franchise needs to be multimedia.
Multiple pieces.
Yeah.
The Pokemon games are successful in their own right if you're only talking about like Game Freak itself, but because Pokemon is such a huge franchise at this point, initially the games were so successful because the second gen was supposed to be the last gen.
Hmm.
They had a similar thing with Fire Emblem Awakening, and then that popped off, so now Fire Emblem still exists. Um, at this point, it's just the format, I would say.
Hmm.
Is because we started as a game, we release everything as a game, so you get to go explore the world, fall in love with the world, and buy our toys.
But I had a thought earlier, speaking to the just larger
Legend.
larger
Yeah.
scope of all of that. Like, we did talk about that a little bit in my schooling, and you know that it's not a perfect excuse, but it is kind of like, there's so many moving parts, and this happens a lot where like there'll be very poor timing, or like a movie will get pushed back. I think this happened with the Flash. Like the Flash got pushed back, but like they had already approved the Lego set. So
Oh
like
no.
this happens specifically Lego. It's really weird, but lots of Lego sets will come out that will spoil like movies, because mostly superhero movies, because that's like 90% of Lego sets now. It's either superhero stuff or Star Wars.
Yeah,
Where
Pokemon I think is Mega Blocks.
that sounds right. I've seen those in the store, and I think you're right. But like that, they'll come out and it'll be like you'll see like a little Lego figure, and it's like, oh, I didn't know this character was gonna appear in this movie. Or it's like, that's weird. Why does that character look like that? Or it's like, who are these people? And you go
Or
into
like the scene that you can build on the box is like a big spoiler for the final action scene.
yes, it's always the finale action scene too. It's always Loki up on Avengers Tower being like, "Nyeh,
Yeah.
nyeh." I don't know why he's Skeletor now, but what's Japanese IPs?
There's actually a lot of IPs. Kingdom Hearts as well also started. Even though Kingdom Hearts, I guess, had like footing from Disney and stuff like that, so it's a little different. But the Kingdom Hearts manga spawned from it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things in Japan that break that trend now. There's a lot of anime that'll start like as original animation, and then somebody, they'll end up like getting a couple artists together to make a manga for it, or things that spawn from a light novel end up gaining more popularity as an anime, so they make an actual manga for it. There's a lot of like different disparities in that now, especially with the anime industry booming. That it's not like it's a lot more accurate to say that for the past, but these days it's just like a lot of differences in general
You want to
in how series start in Japan.
You want to talk about some awful crunch and terrible working conditions? I would never want to be a mangaka. I would never want to. Like, I hear about some horror stories of like people's bodies just being absolutely wrecked because all they do every day is work on their like, and it's always out of passion. They always love what they're doing, and that's part of the culture. It's just that's
Yeah,
expected of them.
they put a lot of passion into their work, but the thing is like this work ends up being like super full of life and super passionate
I'm
and oftentimes weird. But it's and
Hunter,
they think it's just
Hunter,
like, well, if I
author.
want to succeed as a mangaka against all of these other like mangaka that are out there, and I want to be like the next One Piece, please don't be the next One Piece. I don't like One Piece. Um, I gotta put everything I have into it, and to the point where some of them will work themselves to death, unfortunately. And so that's like a thing that'll happen, unfortunately. A lot with the especially with all the isekai coming out and everything like that. Like isekai was like a huge fucking boom. So everyone and their mothers is putting out an isekai. And it's like, well, how is your isekai different? Oh, we have a smartphone. It's like that was fucking boring. Oh, I become a lick and I start to lose my humanity. That's fucking cool. You gotta put a lot into it to get something out of it because it's just such a huge thing. Like even with like artists in general, like, like why would somebody come to me for commissions versus somebody else, especially since I don't have that much experience with a lot of art and stuff. I only started doing digital art 2 years ago. It's a very competitive, like artists are always very supportive of each other, but there's still like the whole competition of, well, I want to make money off my art, you want to make money off your art.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad that like the artist circle is usually very like proud and supportive of each other for the most part. It's such like a great thing to see on Twitter, which is one of the reasons why I like to stay on Twitter, is for artists and stuff. But there's still that whole thing. It's like, well, you end up looking at somebody's art and think, oh, this is amazing, I love this sort of thing, but why is somebody going to come to me for art commissions when this person's exists? It's like you got to put 150% into your stuff and be
Mm-hmm.
proud of it and love what you do, even though we're artists and we hate what we do. Why can't
Mm-hmm.
we draw right ever? But it's like, yeah, you always feel like, especially when it's something you're passionate about, you have to put that 150% in, and that turns into like 250% for a lot of Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I found just a specific example that I was made aware of because my partner, one of her favorite animes is Hunter x Hunter.
oh,
And the creator of Hunter x Hunter, Tagashi Yoshihiro, he has a lot of medical issues because of like this putting his body through the strain of,
The
you know,
carpal tunnel,
yeah, just
back issues.
yeah, all that stuff, and he is in constant just like medical care. And Hunter x Hunter was on hiatus for 8 years or something until last year. He put out, I think, like 3 chapters, and then immediately back on hiatus. He wants so desperately to keep it going. Well, he is married to Takayuchi Naoko, creator of Sailor Moon, and he has had like long conversations with her. She has learned his art style, learned what he wants to do with the story in case something drastic happens and he dies before he is able to finish this story. And
That's
just
amazing.
it's beautiful that like that relationship exists in an artistic space, and I love that so much. But the sheer fact that that is the extent that it could come to is baffling to me.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people won't sacrifice like their health and won't sacrifice like themselves for their craft, but you see a lot of that in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I don't think it should ever go to self-destruction, but that could also be like the difference in culture. But at the same thing, at the same time, it's still kind of like a beautiful thing that people is like, at the end of the day, they're dying happy doing what they love. It's like when you have an old man who smokes cigarettes and drinks coffee, and it's just like, well, you have all of these issues because you smoke cigarettes and you drink coffee, and you're gonna die soon if you don't stop that. And he keeps smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee because that's what he enjoys doing. So he's just gonna do that till the end of his days, right? You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And it's like you can't really judge people for that
There was a
necessarily. Like I do think there is like a little bit of an unhealthy woke culture there, but at the same time, it's like if you destroy your body doing what you love, then you've lived your life to the fullest in your own eyes.
we are taught
What's the matter?
we're in our acting classes we were taught the method, the idea of stripping away all that you are to become somebody else for a role. And there's actors who will absolutely destroy themselves over a role. Tom Hanks has diabetes because he lost a ton of weight for his role in Philadelphia, gained it all back for another role that I'm forgetting. Like he was back to a normal healthy weight and then lost it again for Castaway. Like he was fluctuating his weight like crazy, and he ended up diabetic because of it. Um, there's just so many actors who will do that to themselves. Christian Bale always does like a voice or does some kind of like accent, and he will not drop it until the press tour is over. He will do like an entire press tour doing the same voice. He will stay as close to in character as possible without losing himself.
I want to know what the press tour was like when he did Batman. Then he's just talking to everybody like this.
He was cupping cupping his hands like this. No, I don't. But he was speaking more. He's Welsh, I think, and he was speaking with a more American accent because he wasn't playing a
I'm
Welsh.
Doctor House. He's British.
Is he British?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Wales is British because it's in the island of Britain.
No, I know, but they have a pretty distinct accent compared to like the UK itself.
I'm not that I don't believe you, but I'm now very confused because I thought I saw a thing.
Wales is, I believe, its own island or its own section,
Mm,
but it's under the UK. They also have like
yeah,
their own. They also have like their own language. It's not quite Gaelic, but that's why they have all the L's.
yeah. I wouldn't go that drastically crazy, which is why I would rather do VO or text role playing. That is
Yeah.
entirely fair. I do the on-screen stuff and the VO stuff, and it's the VO stuff can be like just as taxing on your voice, but like even if I'm only acting for like a 4 hour stint, like even if it's only a 4 or 5 hour day, I'm mentally exhausted afterwards. I don't know what it is about it, but like I get it to the point where it's like, you know, this is, people think it's easy when it's not. That whole um
Yeah, you just have to stand in front of a mic. No, like, I think a good example for people to visualize it is if you watch Cucumber Eggs Benedict. What's his name? What's his real name?
Benedict Cumberbatch?
Thank you.
I had no idea. If you
I
watch,
couldn't remember his name, and I just remembered a meme about eggs Benedict cucumber patch, and I couldn't even remember that properly. I'm so sorry. Anyway, he does the dragon in The Hobbit, right? Smog.
yeah,
So if you look up a YouTube video of him doing it, they actually do like mocap, and they have him in like the green suit and stuff like that. And he's like crawling around on all fours. His face is red. He's like spitting and drooling as he's like voicing these lines for this dragon. Like he's literally just like it's hilarious to watch, but at the same time, it's so cool to see that like I get to be a fucking dragon, so I get to be like this, rawr, bitch.
I would
You know what I
love
mean?
that. I would love to be that because then you like for like God of War Ragnarok, the people who were mocapping trolls and stuff, you just get to
Oh
like
god, yeah.
lumber around and pretend to take hits and stuff. That's
Yeah. Cause it's just professional LARPing at the end of the day, but like I'm not saying
no,
it's easy, but it's like you're
no,
getting to like be all of these cool fucking characters and do all of these cool things and cool voices and like all of the fantasy stuff you got to. I'm sorry.
no. I just
Because, like, there's a lot of people who, like, they'll go out to a meeting and they'll dress up as knights and stuff like that, and they'll play out their favorite stuff from Arthur, but, like, you get to do it professionally, right? It's the same
yeah.
thing with, like, artists and anybody who's, like, living their dream. It's like, you get to, all this fantasy stuff or sci fi stuff that you grew up watching, now you get to be it, so you put so much into it that, like, you can even lose yourself, right?
Motion capture's so cool.
Yeah. There's like these Miku ones. There's this one girl who does like these dances for like some like the Vocaloid stuff, and like it shows the difference between like $100 mocap versus a 10K mocap, and like she'll do like electro swing dances and stuff, and then it'll have like a Miku beside her that's like doing the dance properly, and it's really cool to watch. It looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I think the people that like put passion into their craft, no matter what it be, like if that's what makes you happy, that's what makes you happy at the end of the day. So a lot of people destroy themselves for it, but
And going
you
back,
know,
again, reeling this back into video games, people who are passionate about that, instead of like finding a different creative career path, they'll move studios. People who are like, "Oh, I had a terrible time at this studio. I'm quitting." They'll get picked up by just another studio who might have similar issues.
hmm
Like,
and then they just get tossed around, and like people are starting to talk about it now because AAA title video game studios are becoming like like our Hollywood.
mhm.
So like we look up, well, I don't really look up to Activision because I don't care about Call of Duty. But like we look up to Activision and Blizzard, like leaders in MMOs and stuff like that. We look up to Bethesda for like our big open world, our big open worlds that are full of stuff to do. We look up to like all of these places, like we looked up to CD Projekt Red for The Witcher and stuff like that, and like
you say you
we're
you say you don't look up to Activision. They own Spyro now.
I know
How?
they own Spyro, but they're not.
I know they're not toys for Bob, but no, you're right. We look up to all of these
And they're
major.
doing nothing with Spyro, so fuck do I care?
Oh god, I went to ActivisionBlizzard.com and literally the first thing that popped up is a Spyro trailer, and it's like about Spyro the Dra. Oh my god.
Wait, pardon me? Link me? Link me? Link me? What? Are they doing something for it? Because, like, Spiral, it was like 20 or 25th anniversary and they did nothing.
Yeah, no, I literally just opened I just opened that website, and the first thing on there is a trailer for the reignited. Like, so it is like, I'm not sure if it's gonna be the same for you, but it's like,
No, it is.
so like,
About World of Warcraft. Yeah, about Spiral the Dragon, about World of Warcraft, about Overwatch.
I,
I'm surprised it wasn't Call of Duty right there. Oh, I forgot they own Candy Crush.
yep, they own King,
Yeah, but like,
Hearthstone. God, they make so much money.
even like at the end of the day, a lot of these AAA title studios were just like small studios that became yeah, I agree. As much I love Crash almost equally, but like Spyro does deserve the love. But yeah, we look up to these studios for like, you know, what's supposed to be top tier gaming, And this top tier gaming has become release a photorealistic game that is too big for your device, and it's about half to a third of a game, and then you have to pay almost the same price to get all of the DLC with it. And as well as, you know, the predatory online actions and all of this stuff. So everybody's looking at like indie studios and stuff now. But at the same time, if you want to guarantee that income, you got to work for these places. And because we're looking up to that as like our Hollywood, so we're looking up to these studios like our Hollywood. Like it's like Ubisoft is based in Montreal, I believe. Like so if
Hmm.
I wanted to go work on video games and stuff like that, and I wanted to work at a big studio, I could easily pick up French again and go to Ubisoft, right? I think they have a Toronto one anyway, but like, and like that would be living the dream. But Ubisoft also has a bunch of these issues, so now all of it's coming to light the same way that like Hollywood is. Hollywood was with the Me Too movement and everything. So we're starting to be able to talk about this stuff and actually have stuff done about it because, you know, we're getting more politically correct. We're having like more diversity. It's okay to be who you are as long as you're not like a bigot. And we need to bring attention to this now because it was brushed under the rug because it was a little niche thing for so long, but now like we have our own Grammys, right?
Hmm.
Gamers, we have our own Grammys, we have our own like, you know, red carpets and stuff like that in a
Hmm.
way that we need to be bringing more attention to this stuff so that people are treated fairly, the same way that like they're starting to do with Hollywood. And that's kind of like how I'm seeing it, right?
Yeah, all of these major industries are having this like pushback from for how they've been treating employees and minorities for in terms of film over a century now. You know, for how
Yeah.
for how they've been treating, and it's always like, you know, this little thin like top percent, and then just the sea of everybody else who doesn't get a say. There's a great
Mm-hmm.
there's a great I don't know if you're like a fan of Futurama or anything, but there was
I've watched like all of them. I'd have to remember the episode.
it's more so like somebody took a quote from Lur and just put like a new caption over it. This was like they were watching TV, and for Omicron Persei, their cable is like centuries off, so it takes forever to them to see like old TV, and so it's just this thing of Lur being like, why does the why does the middle class, the larger of the classes, simply not eat the upper class?
Eat
And it's so true. It's like, and that's what's going
the
on.
rich.
That's what's going on with these with these strikes, is the working force, the writers and the actors, they're saying no to the people with the money, you know, and the people with the money are saying, but look what we have, you need this. And the
That's what we're trying to get.
but you're not
Like,
giving that
what?
to us. It's like,
Exactly.
like I said though, that could just be its own like whole other thing. But like we're seeing that in the video game industry now too,
Yeah.
with walkouts. There was a big walkout last year, a couple years ago, I think from Activision or Ubisoft. There's a huge, like, I think there was like a solid week where a bunch of employees just weren't coming in. You know, it was a mini strike. You know,
Oh, wow.
they weren't so much. I'd have to look this up. They weren't so much demanding
All just to make Ass Creed
all just to make
7.
all just to make ass creed. But oh god, I fucking hate Ubisoft games because like there'll be a thing
Oh
like,
yeah, the whole template of like do stuff and then climb up really really high up and then you unlock a section of the map
and then
and then rinse repeat.
we're just gonna dot it with things to do. Cause like Ubisoft will come up with an idea, or I'll be like, oh, I'm like, that's cool. I'm interested in that. I was I
Like Watchdog.
Watch Dogs or The Crew is the one that I think of, because it's like, oh, this is just like a smaller scale of America. I get to just drive around and have fun. That sounds really relaxing. And I used to play The Crew just doing laps around the states because it played really nice, it looked good, but then it would you would drive off the road to like a satellite dish and it would do the Ubisoft thing where it would just like fill in a circle of the map, and I'm like, I'm a car. What
Can
are you
y'all
doing?
can y'all figure out like a new way of unlocking the map yet? I love that Breath of the Wild did that though. Because it's just like, oh yeah, like can nobody figure out a way to like do this?
It
Pokemon just kind of Pokemon. That's one thing I appreciate about Pokemon's open worlds. Well, with Pokemon Legends Arceus, like it was open world, but it was sectioned off,
mhm.
which I didn't really mind the format of. To be honestly speaking, you just have to like progress to unlock that area. Um, I didn't mind that format, and then like Pokemon itself, you can literally just go anywhere except for the crater,
Yeah, for
and like yeah, you didn't have to like unlock anything. You just had to like go there and like go to a Pokemon Center so you could fly back, and that was
mhm.
about it, right? So it's
Yeah.
just like have it open, or just have like do like that whole like Diablo thing, just with a wider radius, where like when you're in an area you haven't been yet, or I guess because it's procedurally generated for the most part, anyway. Like you have like little bit of shadow, and then like you slowly unlock the shadow or something like that. Like you can do something that isn't just climb up really high so you can see really far and now you know what the map looks like.
The Insomniac Spider-Man games did something that I was a fan of, where they had collectibles and mini games and like, oh, here's an enemy base to go take care of. But instead of like sections of the map and then it would like show you what was in that section of the map, as you discovered these things throughout the game, it would just fill up the whole, like the map was never like blacked out or anything. It would just fill up points in the map to be like, oh, you took out
Oh,
the
to like
you took out the
continue those things.
yeah, it's like you took out the first enemy base. I bet there's more around the city, and it would dot the whole map with them. Or it's like,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, or it would be like, oh, hey, here's like a greenhouse, or like here's a research center that somebody set up. I bet I need to figure out what happened here, and then it would dot the rest of the map with all of the others. So it was instead of like points on a
Oh,
map.
like Skyrim too. That reminds me a little bit of Skyrim too. It would do that once you unlock certain like quest lines and stuff like that, and like it was like you had like this big old map, and then once you get somewhere and you get closer and you know the area better, or like you see somebody that has a quest line over their head, well now it's on the map.
Yeah, or like
Or
you
if you
would,
talk to somebody and they're just like, we want you to go to this town to kill this person, then that appears on that map. Now you can
mhm.
go to that town, and when you get to that town, then it's just like, oh yeah, there's all these shops here, by the way.
Or like you would read a book and it would be like somebody's diary, and it's like I heard about a cave somewhere that has money and stuff, and then a dungeon would appear
Those
like.
things. Yeah, I love those little kinds of secrets. I love those. I love the exploration part, right?
Did you ever in Skyrim? Do you remember the stones of Berenzia?
Oh god, do I?
The little
Let me see.
they're in like a gold case. They're little pink crystals that spin around. This was a thieves guild mission. There's like a
Oh, I
crown.
never did the Thieves Gold mission.
Mm. They had a
I didn't really finish the game. I didn't own it. I played it on my exes, and I couldn't beat Alduin because I was only Fireball Mage because Jazargo would die otherwise.
I I too wish to keep Jizargo alive. Uh, but it was a big ornate crown with like 24 crystals missing, and they wouldn't appear on a map. It wouldn't just be like, oh, here, find these all throughout, but they would be in important places. Like each Jarl, I think, had one in their bedroom. um each
Oh, I see. Yeah,
each guild had one somewhere, so like.
I'm looking at them, and like, yeah, I see. There's one just kind of here in front of like a dragon wall with a bunch of people killed on an altar. There's like one that looks like on the shelf of a house.
Yeah, but they like wouldn't, like, you would just, they're noticeable
This
enough.
one's tucked away in a corner with a bunch of skeletons.
There was one. I am an insane person who was playing Skyrim during, it was like the summer between quarters of like high school or something, or like between high school years. Like I was doing nothing, and I decided to find them all without a guide. And there are some truly horrendous ones. There was like a cavern that didn't appear on the map, and
Oh
like,
no.
so like it was like the entrance to the cavern did, but there was also a ravine that like people could fall into, and the story, kind of the storytelling within the world, is that like somebody had one of these in their pocket and then fell through the ravine. So you just had to like do a trust jump like down into this ravine, and it would just be in like somebody like a corpse's pocket at the bottom of this. And I remember like stumbling upon it and being like, "Oh, that's how we're gonna play it. This is just kind
I
of chilling there."
like so that is like a big pain in the ass, kind of like Koroks, but at the same time, that's the kind of shit that I love. If I love the game enough that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna like, you know what I mean? Like,
Environmental storytelling.
it's as much of a pain in the ass as it is like just the fun of discovery and stuff like that, which is one of the things that I love about video games, like exploration,
Mm-hmm.
right? You get to go and you get to be a part of this world, and you get to run around this world that like people have like for the most part artistically crafted. And if everything's handed to you on a silver platter, like a lot of consumers want today,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, well, where's the fun in discoveries? And you're just playing with like base mechanics, right? But like things with like Skyrim, like a lot of like dungeon crawlers and like even near like I've been playing that recently, and like
Yeah,
some stuff is a bit of a pain in the ass to figure out. Well, it's just like because you have like these big tall abandoned buildings and like there's like a dot for an event there, but you have to figure out like what level it's on. It's like I can't. How do I climb up here? How do I get up there?
and there's
And like but it's still just like all of these like little like tidbits for you to discover, right?
I
And then
what I love specifically about Nier Automata is accidentally finding the joke endings. Like doing
yeah,
something that will accidentally kill me, and then it's like, oh, you got ending you or whatever. It's like, oh, okay.
yeah. Like the first thing I did because I saw somebody else do it on stream was I blew myself up on the bunker
Yeah,
because that's a joke ending. One of them is like eating the fish, but Jackass kind of tells you better. She's just like, "Hey, I have a fish.
yeah.
If you eat it, you'll die." So I ate it.
And it
I discovered that you can unplug your OS chip and that gives you an ending
that's
out
the
of your chips.
that's like one of my favorite ones, and I was like, does she know? Do I say anything? But just like, because there's the joke of like, oh, delete, system 32 from your processor, and it's a good time because
Yeah,
I'm trying to make room for all of these cool upgrades and stuff. I don't need this one.
and then I just die.
It's
Yeah.
so
I'm
good.
just like, what happens if this? What happens if I remove this? Oh, okay, this happens.
Yoko Taro is an insane man.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But yeah, there was another one that was I didn't even realize I got when you start ending B in your as 9S. So
Hmm.
you get told to like help like 2B and the other androids get into the factory, which is the first thing of the game. So it's just his perspective on what you've done.
Hmm.
Um And so there's two. I'm just like, okay, so which way do I go? And I see like a way that I can go left, and it's like this like sort of crane arm. So I hit the button, and the crane arm goes down, and like I get this chest, and then I just walk over, and it's just like, oh, 9S ran away. The end. And I'm just like, ah. So I just kind of like walked into that by accident. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna go help 2B, and then all of a sudden it's just like 9S ran away. Bye bye. And then it's just game over, and I just did a stupid thing with the robot jumping again. That was fun, but like the little discoverabilities and stuff like that, even if they're hard to discover, like I feel like when it comes to like a lot of JRPGs, they end up being a little too long. They end up being a little too convoluted with that kind of stuff. Like if you look at the original Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah.
Or Final Fantasy X too is probably a better example because like Final Fantasy VII is like doable and beloved, but like Final Fantasy X-2 requires 3 playthroughs to 100% the game, and you have to get each thing that you can get within each playthrough in order. And then if you start the second playthrough and you miss one of those things, then you can't get it. Then you can't continue it on the second playthrough, therefore hindering your third playthrough, meaning you just can't 100% the game. So you have to play through this long fucking RPG that I think didn't have cutscene skip
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
another 3 times. So I feel like that's a little bit too much, but like the more intricate little secrets you put into the game, whether it be like dialogue or like, just things you can find that don't become waypoints. Like I feel like it just shows a lot of care for a game where rather than just putting you on a path saying go this way and that's all you do.
Yeah.
That being said, platformers are that, but at the same time, platform is like a whole different like set of thing, right? It's
Y-
not necessarily like exploration. It's just like like Celeste. Celeste has
Mm.
a lot of like care put into its mechanics, and for the most part, like I was watching a friend play last night. It's pretty easy to see what you got to do, but it's all about like the execution and um, doing like all the little like skill checks and everything like that for the game and stuff like that. So it's just like you can see, not everything has to be spelt out for you, but you can discover different ways of doing things that work for you in a game, and I feel like that just shows a lot of care that's put into the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
I don't know.
a lot of those platformers like Celeste, Messenger, Super Meat Boy, it's this very refined like
Rainworld as
experience.
well.
Yeah, where it's just like um we have a set of skills that you can do and the game itself is designed to test those. One of my biggest issues with like any game is if the boss fights don't use any of the new mechanics. You know, like
Yeah.
if you're given a thing and then all the boss fights are just, like for a Spyro game where it's
Have a
just
new toy.
yeah,
Don't do anything with it.
like the boss fights in Spyro 1, I'm sorry, but those are all just run up to enemy, hold square until you hit circle, you know?
Yeah.
Run up to enemy, flame them, run up to enemy, flame them. But like Spyro 2 was like, okay, you're going to have to
Added the pterodactyl eggs and stuff.
yeah, it's like okay, dodge. The first boss fight was like dodge some attacks. The attacks are gonna change up. He's gonna chase you around.
They're also really homing now.
Yeah. Uh, the second boss fight was like, oh, we're gonna give you some like, a rocket that you
Up
could
the
fire.
cinnamon.
You could kick this, or you could run into this. You could like it was little. They added little things here and there. I was like, okay, these are
Without
different.
changing too much of like the core of the game.
Yeah, Spyro, A Hero's Tale did that very well, where it was just like, hey, you know that breath attack you just got? You're gonna need that. Which is literally all I ask of a boss fight.
Yeah. I loved Heroes Tale. I want to play it again. I'd have to emulate it, but like I love the music. I remember just falling in love with that one. I'm like, what did happen to this one? And then I saw you playing it. I'm just like,
It's
people know this Spyro. I don't
it's
know, and that's
I have
like I think getting into Spyro as well, like when people change a series or like they try out new ideas with the same old characters, like I feel like it gets a little bit too much pushback because there's a lot of people who are just like, oh, it's just the same thing over and over. You just charging the shit a different way, and then those are the same people that are just like, wait, this is too different. This isn't the Spyro I know. I don't like it, and that's what happened with like New Beginning, right?
mhm.
I thought it was so fucking cool. You still had Spyro mechanics of exploration, you still had Spyro mechanics of your breath attacks, of charging, but at the same time, I could fucking punch the guy, claw the guy, knock him up into the air, head bash him into the ground, and then spit ice at him and freeze him, and like, it was the coolest fucking shit. It was like putting a little hack and slash into my regularly scheduled Spyro, and I thought it was really creative and really cool, and it did have its issues in a way. Like, I remember when you were doing that, like, treetops with the jellyfish, like, that definitely was not a perfect section. I'm sorry to bring it up. I'm
Fine.
sorry, but,
But you're like
um,
the
you know what I mean?
Spyro the Dragon featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. It's
Please, please, please.
not like I think because like the same people who are like this is too different will also complain that like every Call of Duty game has been the same. It's like I feel like there's all those people who are just like I'm never gonna be happy.
Yeah,
Just because.
that's yeah, and those are the people. The problem with it too is those are the people who are like the most vocal,
Mhm.
and I feel like as like gamers who are like appreciative of the craft of creating games, creating new ideas, creating like worlds for each other that we can go and explore, creating all of this like art and detail and like I feel like because a lot of us who are like are happy with the game will be like, yeah, I like this game. Maybe some of us will write like a short review on Steam or that's it. And then like all of the people who are complaining like, oh, this is too different, this is too this is too that, now it's too that, are the ones that are like the most vocal. I feel like something we could do as a gaming community is actually start to speak more about the things we loved and the things we hate, like social media wants us to do. So we talk about the things that we loved about it, or we talk about, like, why this game really wasn't as bad as everybody thought it was, or if we push back against these negative voices, we might get like a little more innovation, especially from like the series that are now coming from AAA title studios that are too scared to do anything else because it's just like, well, this isn't going to go well because it didn't go well last time. But we can't just re-release old games all the time because we have to wait like another 20 years for the next thing before we can make Spyro like photorealistic as fuck and then re-release the trilogy again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we need to be able to like bring back some of these newer ideas, or like even if it's just like, what, like this didn't really function very well, it wasn't programmed very well, the hitboxes were off, but we can appreciate the idea. If y'all can like fix this up and like release another one and say we've improved on a lot of the mechanics and stuff like that, I'll give it another go. It's like pat them on the back for the effort of trying to take like a beloved thing and like add something refreshing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike what they did with fucking Year of the Dragonfly. I hated that one. You didn't even get to fight all the bosses. I thought it was like a bug. I thought I was skipping them by accident because Ripto shows up with both of his cronies, and
Mm-hmm.
then you just go through the levels and then you fight Ripto. That's it. It just felt like half of a game, and it's just like, well, you just did half of Year of the Dragon, but with Ripto. So like, what is this? I still played the fuck out of it. Don't mind me, but like,
Oh yeah, I played a lot of Enter the Dragonfly as a kid, but it was
I
even
had it, right? It's what I had to play,
yeah,
and I like Spyro, so
yeah, because like back then, now we have there ended up being like what 10, 12 Spyro games across different generations and stuff, and then there was
the isometric ones.
yeah,
I still played the fuck out of them, but like gliding with isometric mechanics is
eh,
awful.
it's the worst, but
Yeah, like that's the one where it's just like, we understand you tried to put Spyro on another platform, but this wasn't it, guys. You know what I mean? And we can give them like a positive, you tried. Crash Bandicoot Purple and Spyro Orange, though, sick. Those are sick. One of them was better than the other. I'm pretty sure Crash was better than Spyro, but like that was fun. That was fucking fun. Do shit like that again, you know?
the
Like,
crossover where
you own both the IPs. If we could get like could you imagine if we got that on PC now? Instead of like on Game Boy?
it would probably be a lot better. I do know that like they put Spyro Hunter and Nasty Nork into Crash Team Racing, and I wouldn't be surprised if like for Crash Team Rumble, like that new free to play. No, it's not even free to play. It's like $40, and then you have to. Yeah,
Is that like their take on like Pokemon Unite or something?
I think so. Like it's
Oh boy.
kind of a MOBA. I think. I don't know. I'm not.
I was looking at him like, is this gonna be like Mario Party?
People thought it was
Oh
gonna.
god, do you remember when I think it was like Bugs Bunny and stuff did a Mario Party? Not a lot of people do, but it was kind of hilarious.
Looney Tunes.
I think it was a Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes.
CTR and CTR,
Yeah,
right?
Crash Team Racing, Crash Team
Sending
Rumble.
people to cause chaos in the Spyro 2 worlds. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
It
remember what
was,
system this was on?
I don't remember. I don't remember if it was like Looney Tunes. I'm pretty sure it had like, oh god. Let me just look at Looney Tunes party games.
Because I'm seeing lots
I,
of board games.
yeah, I don't remember. Was it Wacky Party? Hold on. Let me look up Looney Tunes Wacky Party.
Galactic
Or
Sports, Time Busters.
oh god. Okay. There was basically like a party game and it had like a bunch of references and it actually looked like a lot of fun for how terrible it was. I'm gonna have to get back to you on this because I can't remember if it was like actually Looney Tunes or if it was like another.
The Acme Arsenal.
It could be Acme Arsenal.
I'm just looking at Looney Tunes video games. Oh, let's not do that. I had something backing
Right on.
up, talking about Spyro putting possibly into Crash Team Rumble. Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say I don't like Crash Bandicoot. I had
You don't like
literally,
Crash?
yeah, no, because you brought it up earlier that like you almost love them equally, and I was gonna bring it up that like I just don't. It's because I didn't grow up with Crash, so I don't have nostalgia
Oh,
for it. My first
I
Crash game,
mean,
my first
I only had Warped.
my first Crash game was the Insane trilogy, and the Insane trilogy was not correct from what I understand because like the dimensions and the system that Crash 1, 2, and 3 were built in were all different. And so for the Insane trilogy, they built Crash out based on Crash 3, but then like the
Oh.
distances between jumps and stuff were all different and like the jumping animations and stuff were vaguely different across all three of them.
Oh yeah.
So platforming was garbage in the first two games, and when you get
And the first game is like known for being difficult.
yeah, I made a promise though. I think I was playing through Enter the Dragonfly when I said this. If I ever get partnered on Twitch, I'll play through the Insane trilogy.
Do
So
it. Oh my god, okay. Silver for partner. Silver
absolutely,
for partner! We gotta do this!
yeah.
Silver for partner! I want to make you play those.
It'll be. It's the only way it's gonna happen. That's the incentive.
We could do like a race or something, so you get to him first or something, if anything. I'll do it
Um,
with you. I'll suffer with you. I'm not. Oh, Crash 3. Crash 3, I'll kick your ass in because I played the shit out of that when I was a kid. But the
probably
first one is very difficult.
my favorite Crash Bandicoot game that was Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Played that one and I was like, hey, this actually like feels better to play than Mario Kart. I'll play this for a bit, and I actually got really into it. But
Nice. I was really in the Mario Kart Wii for a while, but not all the meta. I never learned how to do this thing where you like jump and then use the fucking skits. The little like drifting boost thing.
oh yeah,
Yeah. I'm kind of casual. It was just like feel fun.
the the wheel was fun. Like you're gonna that felt good.
It did. It felt really good.
I have this article open of like a bunch of studios that were like called out for crunch issues and what they did about it, which sounds
Yeah.
interesting. This is digitaltrends.com article by Gabe Gerwin. Let me play if anybody's interested in that.
Open that up.
So yeah, it's like Rockstar, lots of stuff going on with Red Dead 2, and the Rockstar statement after the fallout from the initial article did not appear to match the experiences of its employees. That's a great sign.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't see the need for unionization. They never do. Executives are always just like, why do you need to unionize? I'm perfect. Bet. BioWare for Anthem and Mass Effect. Oh my god, remember Anthem?
No, actually.
It was
Heard of it. I never played it though.
it was like it was a game they were charging full price for. It was like $60 on release. And the plot was that like it was basically you exploring an alien planet, but it was like up to 4-player co-op and you all were basically kind of Iron Man. You like
Oh.
could fly around, shoot lasers and stuff, but like
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it. Oh yeah, no, one of them's literally Iron Man. He's got his hands like in the Iron Man pose. Okay.
yeah, and nobody played it. It got such like it looked nice, but it because it's a BioWare game, but
Yeah.
it got such like bad reviews. Nobody was playing it. They eventually made it free to play.
Mm-hmm.
I think I paid like $5 for a copy before it became free to play, and I think they ultimately shut the servers down. It just crashed and burned terribly. And again,
Yeah.
that comes from the
That's another thing too with live service games. I feel like with a lot of live service games, especially if they're coming to the end of their life, just especially for consumers that paid for it and stuff like that, right? I feel like there should be an ability, especially if it's like a paid for game, that you can host a world that wouldn't necessarily be MMO, but you could give people access, like basically the same thing as what private servers are private servers are for a lot of like dead MMOs and stuff like that, like Trickster Online, for example. After it like just stopped existing, people who really loved the game created a private server so you could like download their launcher and still play the game and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
there's
I
things like
feel
that
like they
for.
should give that ability if it's free to play or something. Like I understand, like whatever, but like if it's a game that you pay for to play online with people, and then like for example, if they stop doing service for Diablo 3, right? If
Hmm.
they cut the service for that someday, they should have like an ability where you can still boot up the game and you can use your own internet connection to invite people rather than accessing their servers because they shut their servers down. You know, kind of use your own internet to invite people to play, especially since it's only like a four-player thing,
Yeah,
right?
allow me to host, or even if it's just like two people. Like, are LAN parties even still a thing anymore? We're like,
I did a LAN party a couple years ago with Overbros. A friend had one of those tiny Alienware computers and just stuck it in their backpack, and we set them up with a monitor and everything. It was great.
nice.
Yeah, it was fun. We didn't duct tape anybody to the ceiling though.
Oh my god, I've seen that
Have
picture.
you seen that? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, but when I think about like private servers and stuff for that, I think about World of Warcraft. I never got into it, but like there's people who have like classic WoW servers. Like there's basically a server set up for every iteration. Like every time there's an update for the game,
Yeah,
there's.
probably pre-Pandoria and stuff too, because I heard that fucked up the game for a while.
I remember when
Because
that came out.
they weren't allied, right? You could pick your alliance with them, and that's all I really know about Pandoria.
I
Pandas.
I remember that they looked like pandas, but I know nothing about World of Warcraft other than there's like classic servers, and then there's like, oh, this contains like one update, this contains like two of the expansions, this contains, like there's private. Basically every time a new version comes out, there's going to be a group of people who are like, we don't like this, we're going to like create our own
Make
server.
private server,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they I just because I remember that they used the World of Warcraft, and let me find this article. They used World of Warcraft to look at trends for a pandemic, if you've heard about this. There was a glitched weapon, I think it was, where like if you picked it up, your character would basically, it wasn't like an in-game curse or anything. It was an actual coding bug that would
Uh,
like lock out your character, or like it would destroy your save, destroy your loot. It would destroy your loot but not your character. So people didn't realize stuff was disappearing from their inventory, and they would go into servers with other people who would then be corrupted by this corrupted data. And like actual scientists and like
sounds
epidemiologists,
like a plot for Dot Hack.
actual epidemiologists use this trend to like look at, okay, people server hopping is the equivalent of people traveling to other countries with this illness, and so they used it to map out like what does this look like on a large scale. Used.
That's really cool. Yeah, no, exactly. Because like you're going and you're coming in, because it's basically just like a world, and you're coming into contact with other people. So you could technically use that as a case study for how something would spread. Because if somebody's sick and they don't realize it, and they spread it to other people, and then well, there you go. Then those people spread it to other people because they don't realize they're sick.
All
That's
right.
why COVID response was so like I understand some of the pushbacks. Like, what do you mean I can't leave my house anymore? But at the same time, it's literally just for your own safety until we figure this shit out, please.
Yeah, we don't know what's
Right?
going on, let's
It wasn't
dialogue.
about stripping rights. It was about protecting us and trying to figure shit out before, like, it was to the point where like a lot of places shut down capitalism, right? Which is a thing that doesn't fucking happen. They're just like, all right, y'all gotta like um y'all gotta like kind of like just sit tight while we try and figure this out so you don't all fucking die, right? They were able to like stop a lot of capitalism. A lot of businesses had to shut down. Unfortunately, mostly the small businesses were the ones
Mm-hmm.
that like suffered and everything like that, and a lot of like the poorer people in places and stuff like that. But Canada had a really fast response. We shut a lot of things down. we created an emergency benefit to help people continue to pay rent and stuff like that, which was very easy to apply for and processed rather quickly. It was to the point where there were some people, even when they had their own independent businesses, who like were a little confused or just tried to apply so that they could get extra money anyway. And they had to pay a lot of that money back because they made over a certain amount. So you only really qualified if you didn't make under a certain amount, if you didn't, like, you weren't
Oh.
worth a certain amount, because we're not just going to give rich people free money, right? This is for all the people who won't be able to pay their rent without going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really fast and good response, in my opinion. And it was just like, all we ask is that you stay home so that we can, like, get vaccines or a cure before you all die. And people push back against it. And I feel like there would be like a similar thing even in an online gaming community. They'd just be like, "What do you mean?"
What do you
No.
mean I can't play my game while you figure this out?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so this article I found, the original paper is from 2007. This article's from 2020. Three guesses why, and the first two don't count. Um, but it goes into, it's called the Corrupted Blood Outbreak. Was not intentional. In 2005, Blizzard added a new dungeon called Zul'Gurub, I'm guessing, Zul'Gurub into WoW for highly advanced players, controlled by an end boss named Hakar. Hakar was a blood god known as the Soul Flayer. These are all words I know. I recognize these words. However, in the context of World of Warcraft, I'm very confused. Blood god known as the Soul Flayer, who had among his arsenal of weapons a debuff spell called Corrupted Blood. Infected players would suffer damage at regular repeated intervals, draining away their HP until their avatars exploded in a cloud of blood. The only cure was to kill Hakar. Blizzard thought this would ensure the infection wouldn't spread. Blizzard thought this would ensure that the infection wouldn't spread beyond that space. They were wrong. Rather than standing their ground, many infected players panicked, teleporting out of the dungeon before dying or killing Hakar, and taking the disease with them. And lower ranking players, with fewer HP, would die very quickly upon exposure. The biggest factor in the rapid spread of the disease was a glitch in the programming such that non-playable animal companions also became infected. They didn't show symptoms, but they were carriers, and ended up spreading the disease even faster. As corrupted blood infections spread uncontrollably, game spaces became littered with virtual corpses, and players began to panic. Efforts at quarantine proved unsuccessful in stopping the outbreak. In the end, at least 3 servers were infected, and Blizzard had to reboot the entire game to correct the problem. And then it goes on to like how an epidemiologist at Tufts University like published a paper on this and how it was actually used in epidemiology.
Wow.
But it's so
It's actually pretty incredible because even if you even infecting the animals, it is kind of like the pets or whatever, that kind of like mimics real life.
yeah, and like the double whammy of like infecting animals is a real possibility, but also having like asymptomatic carriers. The animals were asymptomatic carriers.
Yep.
Entirely off topic, I just thought that was very interesting.
No, it is very fucking interesting. And then it kind of it really makes me think of like dot hack though, and like how there's like the IDA thing and everything, and like how IDA can spread to other players, and they just didn't shut the game down because, you know, you have all these players and stuff like that, as well as because IDA was causing comas in people in real life. It's like deep dive game, right?
Mhm.
So you're like neurally connected to it and shit.
Man, I
They
can't
never
believe.
really explained how that worked, which is one of the biggest plot holes in dot hack, unless they end up going into it in one of the series that like I never watched or read. But for GU, for example, like they didn't shut it down because that would be kind of like they were kind of pretty much denying it and trying to cover it up, saying no, it doesn't cause comas, it's just a fucking video game. And then it became a whole thing of like, you know, it became like a huge thing to the part where like servers were being infected and they still weren't shutting down the game because they had to go at it from the inside, because plot hole, plot hole, plot hole. This doesn't really make sense. In reality, you would shut the game down if it was causing comas, but like, you know, it's dot hack.
But that is an entirely human response. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
10% of people who play our game die, but the 90% who play it spend a lot of money and have a cool time.
Yep.
We're gonna lie about it.
Exactly. So that makes me worry about the future of VR. I'm
Oh
not playing the first deep dive game. That's for sure. Even though I would play the fuck out of the world if it existed.
god.
Oh
Yeah.
god, VR is like another whole like mixed bag as well. Especially those memes of those guys where they have VR and then they just go and start taking their pants off. It's like, what the fuck? I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like those are staged, but like. Also, actually, back on the topic of World of Warcraft, did you know Leroy Jenkins was staged? I didn't, and my heart broke into a million pieces.
I could have gone my whole life with the with I could have gone my whole life with the
Not
fantasy.
knowing that.
I could have. You've broken me.
I'm sorry.
It could
I
have.
had to suffer, so do you.
What did? So like everybody. It wasn't just like a couple of people. Everybody involved knew what was going to happen.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Was it? What level of stage was it? Like, hey, we're gonna get all the way to this point and then mess it up, or beforehand was Leroy just like, hey, like once we get
Do
there,
something really funny for content or something.
yeah, it's
I don't actually know. I don't actually know the whole story, but I like how it's. I still like the fact that it spawned a legend to the point where he's a card in Hearthstone.
Leroy Jenkins
That's just gaming history.
staged. While there's always been some speculation that the video had been staged, it took 12 years for Schultz, I'm guessing that's the person who played the character Leroy Jenkins, confirmed that it was indeed a joke. They didn't make the concept. Oh.
I am the Leroy Jenkins, by the way. Don't run me. Just level up with me, or I will go in and die.
There was also an interesting, and I guess like kind of included in like the absolute just state of gaming at the moment is the continued, like, there's still people who are like trolls out there, still people who do shit like that. And I saw more recently there was somebody in World of Warcraft who did something like that where like they were tanking a boss, and the boss's ability is that they had like a chain lightning, and every time it chained to another player character. Elon is rebranding Twitter to X. What the fuck are you talking about? What?
Oh no.
Huh?
Huh?
Trending in the United States, the X. What?
Trending in Canada. Y.com. Okay. Watching porn on the X app?
Call that,
All that X videos.
I also saw that. After 17 years, Twitter is officially rebranding to X. This looks like garbage. Well, hey, Blue Sky, please let me in. I'm on your wait list.
Oh no, Brian Krasenstein, who does like a bunch of like pretty neutral political topics and stuff like that. So like I follow them just for like, oh, what's new? And then I don't really read anybody's opinion because he gets a lot of
Yeah.
pretty bad opinions. But like, he's just like, now that Twitter is renamed X, I am announcing that I will be competing against Tony Hawk in the X Games this year. If I can tweet a reply to Joe Biden faster than Tony Hawk can do a kickflip McTwist, I win. It will be on X video.
That
The prize will be a 10% increase in revenue share as a member of the board of X if Elon permits.
you just threw names and words at me. I heard Tony Hawk and Joe Biden in the same sentence, and I think
Yep.
I think there's like a loop.
It'll be on X video. I'm just like, oh no, don't do that. Wait.
Okay, but there's a guy in World of Warcraft who did like a real life trolling thing like that, where this boss, it's like every time it chains to another ally, it doubles the damage that this attack does.
Huh.
And so this person was tanking it and then kept falling back further and further until it hit like, I want to say it was like over 50% of the people in this raid and just all instantly
Oh.
dead. Instantly dead. And
Oh.
I know nothing of World of Warcraft, but a friend of mine sent a video of somebody who does breaking down what happened. And he was like, this is the only boss that this could have happened with. This had to have been like a troll. This had to have been somebody who was griefing on purpose. This isn't an accident. Look at what they were doing. Look at, items they were using, things that were still on cooldown. There's no other boss that you could have done this with. For this to have happened with like higher level World of Warcraft things, it's like if you die, you die. Like you have to start all over again. So he's like, so
Yep.
this guy would have had to have been with this guild for at least like a year. He like keep up
Building up trust.
building up trust to be like, hey, I can tank this boss, doing dailies with everybody. Like this was a long con. And Blizzard, is it Blizzard who does World of Warcraft?
Yep.
Yeah. Blizzard currently has this situation under review, and the big precedent that's being set right now is for everybody else that died. If they give their if Blizzard gives them their characters back because of this grief, it wasn't their fault, this person intentionally fucked them over. If they give it back, that's going to open the floodgate for everybody being like, hey, I lost my character because of a grief. I lost my character to trolling. If they don't give them back, that's going to spawn a lot more griefers, a lot more trolls who are going to be able to get away with this stuff because a precedent has been set. Which is partially why I hate games like this.
Yeah. Like, online games can be very, very fun and stuff like that. Like, I love the shit out of Heroes of the Storm, but sometimes you just get that one person who's just like, oh yeah, I'm good with Chen. In the ranked match that you decide to do, because it's just like, let's see how high I rank. And they're just like, oh yeah, I'm good with Chen. And it's like, 10 minutes later, I've never played Chen before. It's like, why are you picking Chen in a fucking ranked game if you don't?
Let's think, because I know, because Smurf accounts are made when you're really good at a game, and so you decide to go back in like really low ranking just to absolutely dunk on new people.
Sometimes you make Smurfs to play with people who like don't play hardcore all the time, so that you don't mess up your elo. Because even if you're playing like casuals and stuff like that, especially if you're like high ranking and you win a lot and stuff like that, if you end up playing like, let's say you're introducing someone new to the game, so you're kind of expecting to lose a lot or something like that, you probably play with like an even ground Smurf, so that way they're not getting a whole bunch of these high level players with really high elo for their first couple of games. And then if you want to do ranked with people, but you're like Diamond 2 and they're like down at Bronze because they haven't really played a whole lot or they're not very good, but you're being nice and playing with your friend, you don't want to play with them on your nice diamond, shiny diamond account and drop to like iron.
Yeah, no, I understand it, but in that respect, does that feel like somebody like creating a Smurf account just to do shit like that?
I mean,
Just to be like, oh look, look at my profile. I haven't
a lot of
played all
people
them.
will do it to like grief noobs and stuff like that, especially when you're in like your tutorial stages and stuff like that. So they'll make a bunch of like tutorial accounts. So you just started, and it's basically everybody who like has like a low level profile that's like under a specific. Because like in Heroes of the Storm, you level up your profile. So like if you're under a specific level, you usually get matched with people around the same level. So like that does happen, but it's really hard to stop this stuff because for some reason the shittiest people are sometimes the most creative.
They find ways to like squeak through, and
Yeah.
this is why I don't play a lot of competitive games anymore. I'm just
Yeah, I'm the same way.
yeah, I'm not even like that competitive. It's just kind of like I'd rather play.
I can be a sore loser, but it's more just like I just want to be able to play the game without somebody being an asshole.
Yeah, no, that's totally
And
fair.
ruining it for everyone.
I usually just, stick with my Ratchet and Clank game that I've played a million times because Ratchet and Clank can never hurt me. There's no random, there's nobody there that can hurt me. I know what's gonna happen.
I stick with my JRPGs where they have long convoluted stories and I can get lost in them for hours and oh no, wait, you shouldn't have done this to me. Now I'm crying. Okay, they do hurt me.
Oh, you
The
mentioned
end of Final Fantasy 15 fucking destroyed me.
I haven't played 15. My partner has though, and she's just a big fan of the all boys road trip. That's like
I was. Yes. 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 And the fishing. And the fishing. Oh, you can't forget about the fishing. I was playing that game, and then I found the fishing, and I'm just like, fishing. I got to the part where there's like a kingfish you can catch. I caught it way earlier than I was supposed to. It's like end game or post game. And I caught it with a fishing rod I probably shouldn't have been able to catch it with, and then I got bored and I decided to beat the game.
I need to at some point introduce you to my partner. She is also she will spend 4 hours on a
We
fishing
could
mini
just sit
game.
here and cry about the ending of that game because oh my god, no, like they really put this scene in there to get you, and it's like so human, but at the same time it's just like no, no, you can't do this to me, and like I highly recommend you play it. Like it's decent combat and stuff like that, but like it's just it's so good.
At this point, like the next JRPG I'm probably gonna play is I'm probably gonna replay the like Kingdom Hearts games on stream. Like I've had that kind of
Nice.
itch in the back of my brain of like I miss Goofy and not Donald. I miss him.
Nobody misses Donald because Donald doesn't fucking heal.
Yeah, no, Donald is garbage, but I mean,
Boy, you know exactly
yes,
the noise.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You mentioned earlier that like Kingdom Hearts, like it got a
Guardian.
it got its start as a video game with like Disney backing it and then got a manga and stuff. I learned recently that Disney technically owns the rights to all Kingdom Hearts lore,
Yep.
meaning that
They don't let people die.
Sora is strictly speaking a Disney character, and that fucks me up real bad. I
Harry's a Disney princess.
absolutely
Did we ever get a? So I don't want any spoilers for Kingdom Hearts 3, but did we ever get a Star? Did we ever get a lightsaber Keyblade? That's the only thing I wanted out of Disney's acquisition of Star Wars is like lightsaber Keyblade.
no.
No, sad.
Maybe for Kingdom Hearts 4, because that's
I know that's a thing. Please, I'm boycotting Kingdom Hearts 3 until I can play it, and I've managed to stay away from it. But I watched like the first 5 seconds of the Kingdom Hearts 4 like announcement trailer, and I saw like a city and stuff like that, and I don't know what happens, and I don't need to know what happens until I play it. I'm sorry.
I will say, as somebody who has played Kingdom Hearts 3, I was also very confused by the trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh, okay. I remember. I think I started watching it, and then Naneth was the one I think who said this is all spoilers, and I was like, oh fuck.
Was it?
It's because Remind is canon.
Oh,
I don't know what that means. I'll find out what that means.
I haven't played Remind yet.
Oh, well, now you can play it on stream. The
I
only thing I know about Remind is Zigbar. Sorry, Brag. That's the only thing I think I know about Remind.
Brag. It
See, like, Kingdom Hearts 3 was a full game without Remind, right? Well, no, the thing about Kingdom Hearts is everything is fucking canon and nothing is retconned. And that's the reason why it's such a fucking mess.
that's why. Oh my god. So I'm of the opinion that, and this is again just coming from I played them all as they were like coming out, kind of sequentially. Where like,
I mean, you can skip Recoded. I did.
I mean, yeah, you can skip Recoded, but like I played it, but like as they were coming out, it felt like connecting pieces that you already. It's like, okay, so I had one, connect two to that. It's like, oh, chain of memories. I can just slot that in there, and you're slowly building it up together. Now trying to get into Kingdom Hearts, it feels like I'm gonna open 3 jigsaw puzzles and just dump all the pieces on top of the other ones and just try and figure this out. If you play them in order of release, I feel like that's like very easy to kind of slot things into place.
Yeah, but you also have to make sure you play the. So do you play Calm on Game Boy Advance and then play it again on PS2? Or do you just kind of play them in order, the re-released versions?
Just the re-release versions. Like I would
Okay.
I would say, because like given that there's now like in the big collections that were released on like PlayStation and stuff, given that there's now like a Chain of Memories final mix, I would say like that's more the definitive one. If you can play the final mix version of any of these games, play that one over like, Chain of Memories Game Boy Chain, because Chain of Memories is weird in that respect that it's just too like Chain of Memories on Game Boy is an entirely different experience than PlayStation, and that just comes,
I
I think,
played it on Game Boy.
my cousins had it on Game Boy, and that's where I figured out that it existed, and then I saw that it was
I saw the commercials. And I saw Jack Skellington. I'm just like, that's how I discovered Kingdom Hearts, actually. Was the commercials for Chain of Memories.
really
And then, yeah. And then my uncle had a special PS2 and burned the CDs for me, and I got to play them. That's
nice.
how I played. That's how I played Kingdom Hearts. And I've technically the only no. I paid for 358, and I paid for 3 dicks. I mean 3Ds. Um, but
Uh,
Dream Drop Distance.
when I was younger, I remember because my parents are also avid Vibio James players. So many games that I fell in love with, my parents got and just didn't like. Like I remember my mom, I think it was, got the first Kingdom Hearts game for her birthday or Christmas or something, and she
Uh-huh.
she played it a bit, and she was just like, JRPGs just aren't for me. Like there's so much going on, and it was the combat really that she wasn't a fan of,
Yeah.
and I was just like, shit, I'll play this. That was the same way with like Kingdom or not Kingdom, the Psychonauts. The first Psychonauts game was just like
Oh, I hear those are good.
fucking. I would say the first Psychonauts game is easily in like my top 5 video games just
Nice.
ever. Those are so good. I need to play 2 on stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick around for that. I've seen some of it. I know that the studio for it too was super fucking passionate, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, Double Fine, because they normally don't really do sequel. They're just kind of like somebody in the studio had a really cool idea for this game and we're all behind them. We made their dream game happen. And somebody was just like, what about, a sequel to anything? And Tim Schafer, the head of the company, he's just like, I mean, I have an idea kind of like going around. Like I'm knocking around a couple of ideas for Psychonauts 2, and so they put it out there. It's like, hey, if we can get this funded, they put it up on like Fig, which is kind of like Kickstarter, except they focus
Uh-huh.
the whole website focuses on like one idea at a time, like one project to kickstart.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so they put it up on Fig, and they're like, if this gets funded, we'll do it. It got pushed back a lot. It got full funding in like 2017, 2018, and they're like, we'll have it out. Or no, it got fully funded in 2016. They said we'll have it out by 2018, and it didn't come out until 2020, 2021.
Yeah, something like that.
Just kept getting pushed back. But that's one of
I
the
mean, if it was a good game or like it wasn't like Cybercrunk, then it's okay for it to be pushed back, right?
yeah. So long as the people actually working at the studio are okay.
Yeah. Also, do you know the Hotline Miami series at all?
I know of it. Have not played it.
Because speaking of sequels, so they're never making any more of that game. The game was kind of like a parody about like series and stuff like that, and the fact that they did a sequel, the sequels was kind of like to parody sequels. Let
That's
me,
good. I like that.
because it's got like a meaning to it. What was the message behind like Hotline Miami? It's an introspective into violence in games, and then uh, I remember reading something about Hotline Miami 3. But yeah, Hotline Miami 3 is not happening. No, there will never be a Hotline Miami 3. It is a brutal conclusion to the Hotline Miami saga. Um, I guess I'm not going to spoil the game too much, but the game advertises itself as a finale, but not just because of marketing reasons, because it's the game about being the ending of a series. So it's kind of meta and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So it's something to definitely check out. It was cheap. It's pretty cheap on Steam, and it's really good. Also, Perturbator, if you like aggressive synthwave, does the music for it. Uh, it was okay. They're like it's $19 and $12 Canadian, but they usually go on sale for like $2 or $3 or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a very, very good indie game. It's like top down kind of action shooter sort of thing.
Yeah,
You have to like
I've seen them
figure out
play
how
it.
you're gonna clear all the rooms and stuff.
I've seen them play it. I know nothing about the plot.
Yeah.
I
The
just
uh the plots get pretty meta and they're kind of like about video games themselves, which I always think is like
hmm.
a really creative thing. It's kind of like when the creators of Death Note did a manga about making manga and stuff like that.
Oh man.
And like I think there was also Shirogako was another one that did that, but it's like I always like stuff that like kind of like gets like a little meta with like the gaming industry, not necessarily like fourth wall, but it's just like we're talking about the industry that like we're working in and stuff like that, and like some of the paradoxes and stuff.
I'm gonna bring it
I always think
down.
it's
I'm gonna bring this down to kind of a shitty place for a second. I'm still looking at that article of game companies that are accused of crunch.
mm-hmm.
Employees at Epic Games, Fortnite employees, have work weeks of between 70 and 100 hours. Yeah,
Uh,
just to try and like patch the game, constantly fix things.
uh, the thing with like live service and stuff like that, like so. The other thing about it, I think as well, that like I understand why they crunch after a release is because they have to fix all of the shit or a bunch of people are gonna be like, oh, we need refunds, we need this. They're just gonna have like the angry mob. The angry mob that was mad that it got pushed back in the first place is now angry that it's broken because they pushed for it to get released and now is angry because they're not fixing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And this goes back to I guess one of the topics you did want to be is like our jobs as consumers is to be understanding that these are people's jobs and people's livelihoods and they deserve vacation as much as we do. And
don't be a dick about it.
we need to be more supportive about it. Yeah, we need to support the fact that there are people. So, like, one of the things we were talking about before we started was Hogwarts Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those that do not know, basically the controversy around Hogwarts Legacy is that Queen Turf actively puts her money, aka J.K. Rowling, actively puts her money into anti-trans legislature and anti-trans organizations and stuff like that, and this is just like a huge fart, a feminist appropriating radical transphobe, aka a fart.
I've not heard that
um,
before, but
it's great. Feminist appropriating radical transphobe, aka a fart. But yeah, she's a fart, and if because she makes money off of her IP, this includes Hogwarts Legacy because it is her IP. So therefore, purchasing the game is not really that much of a I shouldn't say kosher because I don't remember how Judaism stance on LGBT. But it's not really like a good thing to do. Like it's a little more ethical to pirate that game. However, there's a lot of people who understand a lot of this, and it's like I don't really want to get involved in the politics, but I want to support the devs
mm-hmm.
because the CEO isn't suffering at the end of the day. J.K. Rowling with her fucking Scottish castle isn't really suffering that much at the end of the day. Um, that being said, it's still better not to put money towards it. But we can't blame the devs for getting told to work on a project whether they wanted to work on it or not.
Because they work for they work for Warner
They
Brothers.
work
So.
for that company, and that company is just like, hey, make this game now. And it's the higher ups who signed this deal to use this IP to make this game. So, like, there is somebody who I have talked to who has played it and streamed it, and it's like, I don't care. It's not that I'm anti trans, it's like I work in the gaming industry. I'm supporting the devs, and it's an IP that I enjoy. I understand the negative connotations behind it, but I'm just making this choice not because there's a lot of people, a lot of transphobes who like will never buy the game and never play the game, who wishlisted the game just to bump it up on Steam as like anti-trans movement and shit like that. But at what point do we say, okay, we need to support these devs, and at what point can we cut it off from like the boycott and everything like that? I guess when J.K. Rowling dies, it'll be like a little more humane to buy the game once she dies of old age or something. But um, you know, another thing that could be done is if there's a way to donate to these devs without purchasing the game and giving any money to the Queen Turf, that would be another appropriate way of doing it too. Or if it comes on Game Pass, if Game Pass gives royalties and stuff like that, because then like JK's not really getting that much from like a game that's free for a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes into people kind of pick and choose what they boycott, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people who are boycotting Hogwarts Legacy are some people who are like, I don't really care about Harry Potter that much, but I'm still gonna play the shit out of Diablo 3 when all of that shit was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like, with how bad the stuff was with it, it's like, even if you already own the game, the best thing you can do is make them pay for empty servers, right? So that's why you gotta like get off Heroes of the Storm, even though it's a free game. As tempted as I was to fucking play it back then, because I was getting back into MOBAs because of Pokemon Unite. I uninstalled Blizzard from my computer, right? It's like, it's kind of really hard to pick and choose because at the end of the day, you're gonna do what you want to do, and if that's the thing that you want and you've been waiting for, it's like waiting for Persona 3 Reload, right? Because
yeah,
a ton of Persona fans out there. There's a ton of y'all out there.
Me.
And like and like a lot of them are fucking crazy. Y'all are crazy enough to buy it to know that they're going to re-release the game again with an extra storyline added to the end of the game, but you still buy the first game instead of waiting for the second game, and you buy them both for full price. Or maybe on sale if you're lucky.
Now, I didn't get into Persona until after Royal was out. So Persona 5 Royal.
Okay.
I have not bought just regular Persona. I played Golden and Portable, Fez. Like, I've played the expanded.
I remember. Oh, wait, you played the Xbox?
I played the expanded versions of each of those. But no, I get what you mean. Where it's like, y'all know they did it with 3, they did it with 4, they're gonna do it with 5. Y'all still bought Persona 5 base.
They know who they are. Yep, they're gonna do it with the next one. They'll probably do it with Reload as well. Here's a reason to boycott.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Especially if you're like a feminist or like humanist or something.
Pro people.
The Katsuda Hashino, I believe director and one of the writers, pretty high role in making of all of the Persona games, thinks that women are unimportant. Thinks that women should be cute and stay cute. Thinks that women's purpose is basically that traditional Japanese guy of get in the kitchen, right? Women are not as important as men, and therefore will not be adding the features of, which one was it? Was it Fest? It was Portable, not Fest.
Yep.
That gives you the female protagonist. And that's his reasoning for it. Women are not important. Women should stay cute and not do anything, important, because that's a man's job. And so, but are we going to try and cancel Persona? Probably not. A lot of the people who are crying out about Hogwarts, probably not, because, like, you know what I mean? It's Persona! Like, are you really gonna, like, pass up, a thing of Persona 3? Like, I might.
Yeah, because they had the gall to, like, re-release Persona 3 Portable and P4 Golden in one of the expanded 3 games. They re-released all those on like Switch and Xbox.
I don't know if it was. I think it was both Fest and Portable like in one. Let me check.
I can look real quick in my PlayStation library because
it's Portable.
Okay.
It's just Portable. It's not Fest, but Portable has the stuff of Fest. So, as far as I remember.
Yeah, and so like,
it's really hard because I want to buy these games and play them, even though I've seen the entire story of Persona 5 like twice.
The story
played twice.
In all honesty, I like the bonus chapter in Persona 5 Royal. Like, I like that bonus chapter. That's really nice.
Yeah, his outfit at the end is really fucking lame, but it's really good.
I would say that the ending of base Persona 5 is much more impactful than Royal. Like the additional stuff of Royal kind of like pulls the rug out from underneath the emotion of the ending of base Persona 5. I still enjoyed it. I still got the platinum trophy because I'm like that, but I don't know.
Yep. Oh, okay, here we go. Here's an article about it if anybody wants to read it. Or no, wait, no, not this.
I'm looking at a couple. I just typed in Katsura Hashino.
Misogyny is what I typed in,
I
but
typed
there's a
in
thing here.
I typed in controversy, and
Ah.
I got a lot of
Ac-
things. There's two different articles here, both labeled "God, I hope Katsura Hashino isn't directing Persona 6."
Probably is.
Uh,
Katsura Hoshino possesses virulently offensive and phobic views on LGBT community, women, and other groups. Since becoming a games director, he has celebrated and incorporated these views into his work. The following is intended as an itemized education. Oh, the video is unavailable. Itemized an educational record of precisely how these views appeared in the last decade of Atlas video games. He's a director at Atlas, not just Persona.
yup.
So this is an interesting one that kind of goes through all of the examples, and I will post this chat here for anybody that wants to see it.
That's the same one that I
Um,
found.
yeah, the reset era one.
Yup.
Um,
Oh yeah, yo. Oh, I forgot.
oh yeah, Hanako is very yeah. Um,
I forgot all the stuff with Yosuke. Like they were. There's like voice lines or something in Persona 4 that makes it seem like they were gonna make Yosuke like a
gay.
gay romanceable option, and this guy just completely reversed that and turned him into like a homophobe. Turned the character into a homophobe.
Yosuke? No, Ryuji, I think was the homophobe. Yosuke was definitely like, oh yeah, fucking. I forgot about Cap'n as well. What did he do? Because Rin was Rin was a trans character.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
Catherine full body. Yeah.
Full body represents the completed original concept for Catherine, which was not possible 8 years ago because society was in a different place regard to values. There can be no doubt that these grossly phobic portrayals and plot lines are acknowledged and deliberate thematic inclusion on his part. This is a clear ramping up of such narrative injections from him, and it seems as though he now feels confident enough that it is commercially viable to push his views just as hard or harder in future projects.
Who is this we're talking about?
Rin and Katsura Hashino for Catherine Full Body.
So
I mean, like, I can understand, like, when you figure out that Catherine is, like, trans in, like, the specific way that's portrayed there, I can imagine having, like, that sort of reaction, like, oh shit, I was not expecting this. And of course, you gotta kind of blow it up a little because it's animated, and right? So you gotta, like, exaggerate it a bit, but at the same time, it's still, like, very insensitive on how it was done. And it could have been like a, oh shit, okay, well, that's cool.
because
I
there
just
was
wasn't expecting that instead of like the whole. I don't know.
a trans character in base Catherine, wasn't there? The waitress at the bar that they went
Yeah.
to. Yeah, and I felt like if I how was she handled? It's been so long actually.
I don't remember. I
Yeah,
played the game like 3 years ago. I honestly don't remember how the waitress was handled either.
because I don't want to be like
Um, it might be in here.
I remember she was handled well, but then you look back on it and it's like, oh no, that's actually very bad.
Yeah, the
Because
game dead names Erica in the credits.
what?
Yeah, Erica is her name. Uh, the PC port by Sega Europe Catherine Classic changes this and calls her male in the official art book. She is even shown to suffer the same curse as male characters of the game, implying that she is not a real woman as far as the plot is concerned.
That's much worse than I
Yeah,
remember. Oh god.
yeah. Yeah. I know, it's kind of like looking back and like the things we didn't notice. At the same time, like, it's the same thing as like, why like left-handed people are coming up. It's like, why is all this trans stuff coming up? It's because people are becoming more comfortable with being accepted with themselves. Because just before I was born, maybe even in the 90s, you'd still get fucking beat up for it, right? When I was born in my first 10 years of life, the T slur was an okay thing to call them, right? Like I'm born 93, right?
Hmm.
And it's like, with all of this stuff coming up, it's like people are just like, where is this coming from? It's like it's not coming from anywhere. It's just becoming more publicly known. And I don't understand why like people are all of a sudden so ignorant about it. And the other thing is too is like it's the same kind of discrimination black people and other people of color faced in the United States, and a lot of them are denying that because it's different. It's like, no, it's not. You're doing a lot of the same stuff, discriminating them, putting these portrayals in video games and all of this stuff, and it's just really awful.
It's
You
just
know?
it's
I
that
mean, Japan has always kind of been this way, but that doesn't mean it's okay. And they had been progressing and then like kind of regressing a little bit with the trans topic, but there's actually been a couple positive there's one positive portrayal of a trans character in an anime called Hoshiai no Sora, or When Stars Align, and it's a very, very, very fucking good coming of age story. I'm pretty sure it was Hoshiai no Sora. Um, and they're like a side character, but they're kind of like a positive influence on like this kid's life. I have to double check if it was Hoshiai no Sora. So like Japan is getting there,
yeah,
right?
it's just because like you go back and it's like, oh well, people like to say that like, oh, 20 years ago mental illness didn't exist. It's like all these people with issues. It's like, no, it's just that we're fucking tired of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so it's Shosan, which is Maki Katsuragi's mother's friend from college. Is a canon transgender man and like is portrayed in a very positive way and like helps support the child and stuff like that. Like they're a really good character and you're starting to get a lot of more of those, and it's a lot less Okama, which was a trend in Japan of men dressing like women and going to bars.
Mm.
Which was called Okama, which is basically like it's basically just like their versions of drag queens, to being like actual like trans characters. I think even One Piece has one now, but um, like One Piece has a trans character as well now. But so like like places, the portrayals are getting better, but then you still have shit like fucking Tashino. So it's like, are we gonna boycott Persona? Can we boycott Persona? And this is where things get a little selective, because like, I loved Harry Potter growing up, and then I stopped caring, and then I
Hmm.
became a weeb, and it's just like, do I really want to not play the Persona games, right? And like, I'm willing to not play them. I have so many other JRPGs, I don't know when the fuck I'd get to them. If I did purchase them, then I'd probably put them a little like sooner on the list because it's
Hmm.
Persona. But like, knowing this stuff is just like, if it's free on Epic, I'll get it. If they're
Yeah,
free on
and
Epic, I'll get them because then I'm not paying for them, right? And then
yeah,
I just, maybe I won't stream them, or if I do stream them because they're already like very popular streaming titles, I will just be like, all right, I got this free on Epic. I suggest you get it free on Epic. And remember, Katsuda Hashino is an extreme phobe,
and
so
and
no shot he isn't racist either.
I think this also comes down to like trying to separate art from artist,
Yep,
which is something that like I've tried to, because the director of the game is a piece of shit, but that doesn't necessarily mean everybody working on the project is the same way. Or
exactly. And this is where it comes down to, do you really want to boycott it? I mean, so the thing about like Hogwarts Legacy versus what we've learned about Catherine just now,
hmm.
yeah, maybe we shouldn't purchase Catherine. It has very even near replicant. No, Kaine. You know how Kaine is
Yeah,
intersex, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there was like some very, I don't remember what the achievement was, but there was like some very like sort of rude, insensitive towards intersex achievement with Kaine. I think it was something about like finding out that they have like, both or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the exact context. And there was such a big hubbub about it that they removed it from the trophies in PSN. and
That's
stuff.
insane that they would
Yep.
let that slip.
Yeah. At the same time, it's like, again, Japan is a little more behind. That does not make it okay, but that's probably like, as for near replicant, that could have been why they thought it was okay because they haven't progressed that far yet. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not, again, I'm not trying to excuse them. I'm more just trying to give a reasoning of maybe they didn't realize that it was that bad until it hit the West.
Right.
Even Story of Seasons. So they re-released Friends of Mineral Town on the Switch and like on PC and stuff like that, which is like the original one on PlayStation 1, which they also ported to GBA, and that's how I got into the series was that. Um they added for the Western releases only gay options. So basically, if you choose male or female, you can marry and get events with male or female characters. And instead of like giving birth to a child, the harvest goddess will come down and gift you with a child, since you can't really have one naturally that way. And then those options are not, as far as I remember reading, because I read up on it because I'm like, oh my god, wait, this has gay options? I'm surprised. So I read up on it, and those options were not available in the Japanese version.
Of course they weren't. But
This is
it's
like a 2020 game too.
it was re-released in 2020.
Yeah. Story, because it was under the Harvest Moon when Marvelous, was it Marvelous or was it Exceed, or was it Natsume? I think it was Natsume. Natsume was the one that did the North American stuff, and they had renamed it Harvest Moon instead of Story of Seasons, and then eventually they branched off. Story of Seasons started publishing their own games, and that's why people who followed Harvest Moon saw that the Harvest Moon games started to suck, because it
Yeah,
was
I
no
heard
longer
about
the
that.
Japanese ones.
Because
So
they're not the real original Harvest Moon because
yeah,
it's
they're
okay.
just like inspired slash ripped off. Like I got this one on DS that was kind of like Harvest Moon but Minecraft, and I'm like, what?
Harvest Moon with Minecraft. So excuse me. So Stardew Valley.
Yeah. Uh, so the Game Boy Advance one was 2003. Let me 20. Okay, no, it's a 2019 title. Sorry, but Friends of Mineral Town is a 2019 title, and yeah, Marvelous and Exceed are the publishers. So it's Natsume that does the new iterations of Harvest Moon. But yeah, they added the gay options for the Western release only, which I think is interesting, and I think it's like, you know what, we're still gonna do this for the Western audience anyway, I think is still a lot better than not doing it at all.
Yeah, I mean it.
And like that could be like a little bit of pandering, but at the same time, it's like it was just kind of like a silent here you go.
Yeah,
So
even if
I feel like it's they should have it in Japan as well, but it just feels like one of the more inoffensive cases of like pandering and just adding gay shit because it's just like whatever, right?
my least favorite thing about like the argument of just like I don't want that in my game, I don't want that in my movie, my XYZ is you just don't have to interact with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like okay, if you play a male
Oh,
character, you can still romance. It's not
it's a
Dream
romantic
Daddy.
female
It's not.
character, yeah.
Yeah, it's not Dream Daddy where it's gay pandering. It's you can still have your het relationship if you want it. Just don't fuck men. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
It's it's not that hard to
Yeah,
not
if you
fuck
don't
men.
like it, don't do it. That's all it is.
Yeah. Or
IRL or in a game, and it's like, what the hell? Oh gosh, wait. You know what this reminds me of?
hmm,
You remember how they announced Fable 3 or something?
Fable 3.
Hey, I saw that.
I
Uh, so
I've played Fable 3. I don't remember how
Fable.
they announced it.
No, was it Fable 4? They announced a new Fable.
Oh, okay. New Fable game.
Fable's protagonist controversy is Horizon Forbidden West all over again. So they have a female protagonist who is ugly.
Oh my god. When you said
And
Horizon, I think I know
it's
exactly what this is about.
so funny because there's this one like Elon fanboy blue check mark on Twitter, and like
who has never even
No,
stood close
like
to a woman.
they're like, you know, if you make some fun of somebody's appearance, basically you're opening yourself to being roasted for your appearance. Is
Hmm.
the way I see it. Like it's a low blow. It's ad hominem. It's not a good argument tactic, but if you do it first, you know what? Fuck you, you ugly as shit, boy. And trust me, this man was ugly as shit. It's just like everybody in the comments, he's just like, why is there like an ugly female protagonist? Like, you know, you should be making them pretty and stuff like that. And it's like, everybody in his fucking comments was just being like, bro, you ugly. What are you talking about?
I remember.
Like, you shouldn't say shit. And
I,
it was so fucking funny. He got roasted real hard.
I remember when Forbidden West was coming out because again I'm more PlayStation centered, so I pay more attention to the PlayStation exclusives. Because like
Yeah.
it's Forbidden West is such a beautiful game with such high resolution detail, and the main character Aloy, she had like little like thin wisps of like peach fuzz, like a little tiny thin mustache. Cause
Oh, you mean realistic? You
y-
mean something that like 95% of women have?
yes, and every sweaty virgin fanboy who has never even stood close to a woman was just like, "Women don't have facial hair. What are you doing?" And
Yeah, because we get rid of it for your all asses.
it's fucking insane to me.
You remember vagina bones?
I'm gonna need you to elaborate.
um, so there was a thing for Fire Emblem. No, Neneth, please. Um, there was a thing for Fire Emblem where like they had like swimsuits and stuff like that for some of the characters. I believe this was like Awakening or something like that. And so they had like, you know, cleavage and the hip bones. And so for the English release, they censored that. So they basically it's the same bikini, they just took away the line to show the cleavage and they took away the line to show like, you know, the pelvis bones, right?
Yeah,
And so sweaty people online were like were like, "Wait, what happened to their vagina bones?" And it's like, "What?" It's so fucking funny.
not
And like we could talk about objectification in video games all day. It's just like I like pretty girls too, right? Like whatever, I'm pan. I get it
yeah.
and stuff like that, but I just feel like some people have just been surrounding themselves with like this fantasy for so long, and like women have been like the object of objectification for so long, which is why I'm so happy that a lot of like buff male VTubers get their pecs to jiggle. Because it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, fuck it. Both sides. If you're gonna do it on one side, do it on the other side. Hell yeah. Right?
I found what you
And
were talking
like,
about for Tokyo Mirage sessions. Oh no.
yeah. Oh, Tokyo Mirage Sessions. That's what it was.
Not only
Yeah.
did they remove her cleavage, they also removed her vagina. That's not real. You can't be that dumb.
A lot of people online can.
I
A
had,
lot of people online can, and it's not just men either. It's females as well. A lot of females that don't understand their own biology. So I'm not like an all men person. I'm also not a pick me. I understand that women are often at the butt end of every case, but I
Mhm.
also understand that it's all men at the same time, right? But like so, like, trust me when I tell you, there are some females that don't understand their own biology as well, and then they will teach and preach based on their non knowledge. It's like you literally have the same parts. How did you grow up thinking that, like, oh god, some of the stuff, like, I don't want to get too graphic, but it's just like, how did you grow up thinking
Yeah.
that when you, like, literally had this part all of your fucking life? You know what I mean?
I blame that on the education system of whatever country you're from. That's a failing of
Whatever, like,
that.
very religious homeschooling you could have had. And I'm not speaking out against religion either, but it's just like sometimes it's just like, simple biology is good to learn, and that's all I'm trying to say.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, then you have people where it's just like vagina bones, and it's so funny. And like, I think censorship in video games, I guess. So like, I know there's a lot of hentai on Steam and stuff like that now, and there's like a lot of like porn games. There's like this one studio that somebody introduced me to because they really liked it, and I'm like, this shit is weird. They're a porn studio.
Yeah, my
Called
brother in
Studio
Christ.
Foul, and they have a full ass game on Steam now too. Because they told me about it. I'm like, why do you keep talking to me about this studio? Can you please stop? Um, yeah, there's like hentai rife on Steam now. I do think in cases, like lolicon and stuff like that, I understand that shit needs to be censored instead of just putting the 18 plus tag on it because they're in fucking high school.
Hmm.
But um, I feel like if it's just stuff like cleavage and whatnot, I feel like it shouldn't really be censored, right?
No, like it.
And there's just like there's some stuff that like they censored for the West. Like Sony's censorship is so fucking weird. I get the same shit on my family friendly, advertised for families of all people of all ages, especially children, where I can get the game Mother Russia Bleeds. Where I can get Moero Chronicle uncensored, where it's literally a JRPG by the same people as Neptunia, where you break the clothes off of monster girls and rub them down hella.
Hmm.
Vigorously rub them down to break the curse on them so that they can help you, bring peace to the land again. You would come back for that.
Yeah, it's
You would
fucking
come back
like
for
it's
that.
fucking like what's the God? I see it on PlayStation. Hang on, because like there's certain games that so PlayStation won't allow straight up.
Senran Kagura.
No, close. Hang on.
It's like I don't understand why PlayStation is so picky about it when like they're a little more of like an older teen adult system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like Nintendo is just like, sure, if you want your titties, have your titties, but if you're buying this for your child, you know what you're doing.
It's so the game was Akiba Strip, and
Akiba Strip. Oh my god, that game's so funny.
is
The
it
anime is good too.
is it because like it's one of those things like you see it, you kind of have an understanding of like this is the limit of like what PlayStation will allow on their storefront, and it's always like at the front of the store of like, hey, look what's on sale, because it's usually like alphabetical, and so it starts with an A. It's going to be like
It's
towards
just
the
like right there.
it's going to be towards the front of the page. It's like what is happening, but
Yeah.
it's always like sex that's
Yep.
censored, and it's never like, oh,
The gore and the violence.
it's like, oh, this movie has like people exploding into chunks. That movie's rated PG-13.
Yeah.
This movie shows a nipple, rated R.
Yep.
This movie shows lady booba.
And the thing Yeah, it's a weird thing about like censorship and like media and stuff like that. And it's just like, especially when everyone's just like, oh, like all these violent video games are making us violent. And it's just like, well, then why aren't we censoring it? Like even Tokyo Ghoul has a part where like in one of the ghoul fights, one of the girls, her eyes pops out and is kind of hanging out of her head, and they kind of censor that in the censored version because they do have like a violent censored version for that
I hate
show.
that.
I didn't realize until I was just like, why is this censored? What happened here? Oh, it's just an eyeball popping out, right? But even that's my desensitization versus like, oh, those are titties. Okay. And it's like too much sexualization of the human body and then too much desensitizing to like violence to the point where like, a lot of people can see this in real life and I'm wondering like, you can go into like fucking conspiracies and wonder how deep down the propaganda train this is. But it's just like it's such a weird thing, especially because like a lot of like femme and female get put into the butt end of it because it's always the females who are half naked or almost naked, fully naked.
Mhm.
Like, why aren't you censoring the men's penis bones in their swim shorts, right? Like,
It's always like the two armor sets in the game. Like I want male physique protagonists. They give you full covered armor. It's like I want,
more of the armor.
yeah, I want
That's
the
why I like Monster Hunter, because Monster Hunter does have like feminine versions of it, but they still give you like the full fucking set, right?
I just
They
want
give you the full fucking thing. You're like, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. You're covered up. You're fucking in your fucking armor set. You just have like boob plates because you have tits.
I just want my I just want my
Ow.
big buff masculine warrior in a metal bikini. That's what I want.
Please, please. I
Give
think we need like And it's gonna be hard because of all the pushback and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just like I feel like we have enough people on our side as well, where it's just like we should like start pitching and start seeing like even if I did like some art for it or something like that. Like if we could pitch games that kind of break these stereotypes, and you've got like the woman in the army, kind of like that one Shrek movie, the Rumpelstiltskin one,
Oh yeah,
like where like they're all the fucking warriors and shit, or like and just put like the female characters in like full fucking armor,
full
and like the only
paladin
way you can tell
armor.
is
Yeah,
like like the boob plates on their armor or something like that, and then you just have like all of the men in like bikinis and stuff.
just metal banana hammocks.
Yes, can we do that? Can we do that? You
Dear
just be like, see, it doesn't feel so great now, does it?
dear Ubisoft, give us $1 million to make the perfect game.
Yes.
There's no there. The only bad PR is no PR. You know.
Yeah. Oh god, that reminds me of this one anime. It's called Inukami. It is kind of ecchi, but it also is very much at the expense of men. The main character, basically his dog god that he's made a pact with is in love with him, but he's constantly after other women. So she constantly uses her teleportation skill on him, but it doesn't teleport you with your clothes. So he ends up in the middle of the street. So whenever they get into an argument, he ends up in the middle of the street somewhere naked. And all you see is a little fucking crayon elephant for the censorship, and then he gets thrown in jail. And his two best buds in jail, one of them is like a streaker and one of them is like a voyeur, and it's just it puts men at the butt end of the jokes as well. One of the enemies just has a raging mammoth with tusks for his censor. And it's like it's really hilarious. So if you want to see some of that, it's so funny.
I'm looking at the censorship right now. That is incredible.
Right? It's so funny.
All right.
So the stuff like that does happen, and that's an older anime too. Like that's like a 2006 era anime.
Oh, man.
It was really funny. It does still have like really pretty girls and stuff like that, and I think it does have some panty shots and stuff like that. So it's kind of like across the board, but it's still it plays at the expense of men. There's one where there's like a whole bunch of like buff construction workers, and they've been cursed by a puppy, so they all think they're puppies. So they're these big buff men laying on their back in like just like man panties, and you have to rub their bellies like they're dogs, and it
Oh,
was so
Tetsuo.
fucking funny.
Oh.
So funny, dude.
It sounds
So like it happens, but we need to bring some into video games, maybe.
it sounds funny, but also whenever there's something like that, it's like you know that was somebody pet play. That was somebody's fetish. It's
Well,
funny.
yeah. There's a whole thing about it in Yakuza where you have to beat up a bunch of men in diapers.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Speaking of token representation in media, have you seen the one black character in Yakuza?
Oh gosh. No, I have not. I
I think
haven't played them.
I
I
think
want to.
I
They're on
think
the list.
I think he's interracial. Hang on. Yakuza. I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm just gonna look this guy up. Um, I think his name was Gary. Let me just type in Gary. Gary Buster Holmes.
Better than Kingsley Shacklebolt.
Oh my god.
Yeah, remember when the black character in Harry Potter was named Shacklebolt? Like it's not just transphobia. Smile.
Yo.
Pirate Hogwarts Legacy. Or
Yeah, right.
donate to the studio.
That I remember realizing like across the board, like all of the students that Harry went to school with, like the one Irish kid was like
Yeah.
basically an IRA stereotype. There was
Yeah.
like a Chinese Irish student, I think she was, but like her first and
And
last
it
name.
her name was like really racist, like Ching something or
Her name was
Ching
her,
whatever.
her name was Cho Chang, which I think are
There it is.
two. It's two last names for a different language. I don't remember if I'm not gonna confidently say what it was. It was either like Korean or Viet. I think it was Korean, but I think it could have been Vietnamese. But like, basically, her name was Cho Chang. Those are two last names for a different language. Or
Yep.
there was
Something like that. It just sounds like the same stupid like jokes that were okay back when I was in elementary school. Like the Ching Chong jokes that people fucking made back then. Trust me, we've come a long fucking way.
The
We
one
have.
the one black student he went to school with was a great athlete. Like Jesus.
Last name Shacklebolt.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, give
Please don't support J.K. Rowling.
yeah, like if you've already bought the things, like if you
If you've already bought it, it's fine. Your money is going towards the devs as well. So that it.
well, I just mean like in general, like because I know people who like already had like all of the books and stuff, and then it came out that she sucked, and then like they're like burning the books and stuff. It's like I understand that, and that's probably very
That's the same thing as like the Bud Light stuff where they're like shooting the beer. Like you already spent money on the beers. Like it doesn't matter. They don't care what you do with them. And
yeah.
a lot of the other beers that you drink are also from the same parent company. So checkmate,
I'm not gonna
atheists.
I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum if they want to like if they have the books and it's like I still enjoy the books. I'm gonna read them. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gary Buster Holmes, and he's like a foot taller than everybody else in the game. Let me find. I'm just gonna send this wiki page so you can like kind of flip through the different uh like
Oh my god, I'll do it.
yeah, so you can.
Oh, okay, that's pretty. Oh yeah, no, he's definitely half.
I'm pretty sure he is. I think I think he
Is he portrayed okay though, or like?
uh he is a straightforward, friendly man. His poor Japanese speaking skills, however, often lead him to becoming the butt of jokes. He is also a capable leader, as shown in Yakuza Dead Souls. I just know there's like a reoccurring thing, because my partner's been playing them subbed, and so like there's a reoccurring thing where like he'll say words that sound like really similar, so he's just not saying the correct thing. I also know that in the dub, like when like everybody's speaking English, they have the actor who is not fluent in Japanese speaking very poor Japanese to
Mhm.
still like get that across that like he's not fluent.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that. That's a very, very common thing in anime as well. It's like you'll often have like the guy Kokujin who like comes up and is like, kind of speaking the English or speaking the bad Japanese or something.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time when you have characters of color, there's actually one anime that's from like the year 2000 that has two I'm gonna say like more of a lighter tone, like my tone skin colors, but they both have like dreads and stuff. But they're definitely of color characters. Nana. I absolutely adore that anime and manga and everything. And like
Oh
one
my
of there's
god.
two girls named Nana and
I've
one
seen
of her
this.
best friend you have.
I've seen the first like 10 to 20 episodes and I realized that it was literally just gay bait and nothing was happening and so I fell off.
No, it's not gay bait at all.
Really?
No, it's not.
Nothing was happening. Like it
So the thing about it is it's a lot about like their life together and their character progression, but stuff happens, trust me. It
okay.
seems like nothing happening, but it's going through like their daily life, and this is back before the 13 episode format. Like this is year 2000, right?
Yeah. These were like 26
So
episode seasons.
yeah. No, not even. It's like 50 something. I think it's like 50 or
Oh,
52.
okay.
Like there was no didn't have the same generic format that it does now. Or not as strongly. Um, but it also was supposed to go longer, but like Aizawa fell sick and hasn't been able to continue it for years, and where it left off in the manga. Like if anything, if you think nothing's happening, then I would highly suggest reading the manga because you can get through that a lot faster. But
Mhm.
trust me, it is a very good adult story, coming of age story. Like it's about two adult women,
Yeah.
young adult women moving to Tokyo and their lives and the way that they're so different, but like, they still come together as friends, and then, some of the things that will like tear them apart, and like their character growth, the character development between like all of the characters and stuff, even other members of like the band and everything.
Yeah.
It's very deep. I highly recommend it. And they've got two positively portrayed characters of color as well, which is really good for like a late 1990s manga. Because like the girl's best friend is like of color, right? And like her man too. That her man that she met in college is
Yeah,
also of color.
trying to
So it's
remember.
like,
Trying to
you
remember
know, and not
names.
everybody is like not just because like you know a nation as like this or that. Even the United States, right? Like everybody always sees the bad about the United States, but not everybody from the United States is bad.
Right. I mean, that is true. I'm not going to make a snide remark, but that is true.
I can make ton of snide remarks. I'm always the one who makes the snide remarks because I'm just sitting up in here in Canada. We don't
Yeah.
have guns. We have free healthcare. Smile. Okay,
Mm.
I'm done now.
It's just I've never been to Canada, but it is just like I said, I'm in Washington. It is just right over the border. I'm the border's just right
Yeah.
there.
What's the time zone in Washington?
It is currently 5 o'clock.
Oh, it's 8 o'clock for me.
Oh shit. Um, we've been going for almost 4 hours. Do you want to call
Holy
it?
crap. I mean, yeah, we can do like some closing stuff, like just like round it out another 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, no.
But I think we've gone on like a lot of tangents and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we always bring it back to video games. I just think, I guess for my closing points is like representation needs to not be the entire basis of a character. When it comes to boycotting, we need to understand that devs need to eat, as well as we can't be as selective as we want to be. If we're going to boycott one thing for being bad, we have to boycott everything else that is bad, which is going to be a lot more things than you think. For example, Atlas and the Persona series.
Mm-hmm.
Try Nis instead. Nis seems a bit better. I need to look into Nis, but Nis seems to be a bit better. Um, versus like, oh, one last thing about the Hogwarts Legacy thing is, even if you're on, you know, what you believe to be the side of justice, because I'm not gonna call anyone out and just say right side, wrong side. I think discrimination is wrong, but if you think that you're on the side of justice, that doesn't give you the right to hate and discriminate people who are just playing a video game, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people, trans supporters, allies, as well as trans people who were actually going around and harassing people who were streaming the game. And how is that, it's not necessarily like on the level, it wasn't necessarily on the level of hate raids from what I understand, but doing that, especially when some people just aren't on Twitter and aren't on social media and are just like, I'm gonna play this game and I haven't really heard about like J.K. Rowling much. I just have nostalgia and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not on Twitter, right? Or
It.
getting a lot of hate and even getting doxxed. That doesn't make us better than them. We shouldn't be sinking to their level unless things come to violence and we have to fight for our lives. Think we should never sink to their level and we should never harass people because they're the ones harassing us. Why are we harassing them now? I understand the notion of punching up, not down, but that just gives them more of a reason to hate us
Mm-hmm.
in the end. And that does nothing for anybody.
And even
Right?
then, I would say that ignorance on that level of just not knowing what's going on, they could not be a transphobic person who just wanted to play a video game.
Exactly. Like I know a friend of a friend who was exactly that person. Didn't realize all of the controversy around it. It's just like, hey, I remember Harry Potter. I'm totally gonna play this game. It's got to be better than PS1. Hey, okay, we stand PS1 Hagrid though.
PS1
We
Hagrid,
stand PS1 Hagrid.
he's a treasure.
It's a vibe. Stand PS1 Hagrid, not J.K. Rowling. But yeah, don't harass people over the if because who knows, you could just go and like for the communities that you're a part of, you could end up dragging some of those Twitch chatters into those communities and they could start being bigots in your chat and then it just invites this whole circle of negativity. So I don't think it was worth harassing people over. There were a couple VTubers that got outed as very toxic. Like, I've never considered my community a safe space. If you're offended, then get out. And like saying like the R slur, uh, the yeah. The
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
Linus Tech Tips called the hard R, which was hilarious.
Oh my god, I heard about that.
It was so funny.
That's not what that means, dude.
It's not what that means, dude. But yeah, um, even if you think you're on the side of justice, don't harass people, don't sink to their level, just be better, just block them, just go away from that stream, just unfollow that person. If you think that they may not know, if they're a larger streamer and they're not like a 2 viewer person, then they probably already heard it before. But yeah, be support the things that you want to support. Remember that there are people behind everything who may not necessarily agree with the higher ups. So I would say donate to studios, and then if you're boycotting one thing, boycott them all. Like, don't be selective, because then it's just like, oh, okay, you care about trans people, but you're not enough of a feminist to boycott Persona, right? So that's kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess that's my only takes. And then as consumers who have positive, if we have positive ideas and positive like things to say about a game that is a lot different from the norm, especially for a series, I feel like we should be more vocal because we should like applaud them for trying something new, especially if we thought it was good, even if the noisy majority says it wasn't. And these people need support. All they get is clapback. All they get is clapback. So raise your voices if you're on social media. Be like, hey, no, I actually like this series. Share it around. Be like, look, it had its issues, but it was a nice step in a good direction, right?
Enter the Dragon had, or yeah, Enter the Dragonfly had its issues, but it
It it had its issues. Like it was a good game. It was a good Spiral game, but it was also half of a Spiral game.
was half. Yeah. I'm sorry. Anything else?
Yeah, that's it. That's about it for me.
I would agree with all of those points. I try to practice what I preach at the end of all of my streams. I do the whole, be good, be kind, and treat people the way that you want to be treated, and I believe that 100%. I don't
You
think
want to be treated like a dirty little toy, then never mind. I promised I wouldn't do this.
I'm trying to speak from here. I'm trying to speak from here, okay? So, yeah, like I 100% believe like what I say in that it's not that hard to be a nice and genuine person, and if you do, like, I'm of the belief that I I don't personally condone piracy in the sense that like you said, developers still need to feed their families, and I don't want the lack of sales to be a reason that people get fired. So, like, if it's on sale, maybe then. Or, if you buy a game for like, if you buy Hogwarts Legacy cheap for like $5 next year when it's on sale, because it's gonna happen, donate $10 to an LGBTQ plus charity. There are plenty of organizations out there that help these people that are doing genuinely good work. And,
Trevor
if
Project.
Trevor Project, yes, speak with your wallet is ultimately kind of the point across everything that I wanted to talk about here with, microtransactions, boycotting games, is speak with your wallet. And while the industry is seeing the millions of dollars that, these games are making, be it, Hogwarts Legacy, Persona,
Call of
which
Duty.
Cock-a-doodle, the any like pay to win game, your Fortnites and what have you. When something
Yeah.
comes out that you are genuinely excited for, made by good people that you want to see more of, save up. I know a lot of. I personally, I don't have a lot of expendable income right now, but
Neither.
buy the things, support the people that are making the things that you want to see more of. Because that's how we're going to get more of it. If these people are able to make a living off of the things they love doing, they'll be able to keep making more of that. They'll have the financial stability to keep pursuing those passions. And don't bring down people who are part of big studios because they don't get the final say. And, a lot of those programmers and stuff, like you were saying earlier, Warner Brothers just came down, the higher ups just came down and said, "Y'all are making a Hogwarts game." And, I'm sure a lot of creative people got to inject things into it, that
And
they're really
there is a
passionate.
trans character, but that doesn't take away that the creator of Harry Potter itself supports anti-trans legislation.
Yeah.
So they did try to be inclusive, and they did try to make something that was at least in the middle, if not a little more inclusive. So I don't fault the devs at all. They did their best to put
Mhm.
out a game that they were supposed to put out. Great.
Yeah, and I've seen I know people with the game, and if I can, maybe, if years down the line, if I have nothing to do, I might borrow that game. If you know somebody who's already purchased it, a physical copy of it, share it around so people can
Yeah.
still experience, this is a really big cool
Their
game that,
nostalgia that they grew up with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, without directly handing money to Warner Brothers, who's going to take half of that and hand it to Rowling. So in 5 is
Mm-hmm.
fun. Whole I'm not into the whole limited time to do everything though. I found with
Yeah.
I found with Persona I had extra time. Just like I was playing it casually, I wasn't trying to maximize a lot of
Yeah, because
anything.
you beat the dungeon in like 2 days.
Yeah. So all of a sudden it was like, oh, since everything happens,
I'm at the batty
sequentially.
cages for a week.
Yeah. Or I'm going down the street to the sauna, or the onsen. Going down
Yeah.
to the, yeah, doing all this fun shit. But yeah, ultimately just don't be a dick. Like, just be cool. It's not that hard just to be cool to each other. And if you are a bigot, if you do hate people who just exist, I'm sorry. You're probably a product of your upbringing, and that's no excuse. That's learned behavior. You did
Yeah. That
you
or you're just very sad and you need to find something that makes you happy in your life. Pick up a different kind of video game for once. Maybe you'll find a new passion
Yeah, pick up,
other than hating people.
yeah, no, and it cuz like generational shit has been going on for so long, and we're starting to reach those generations that are breaking the cycle. But even like Gen Xers who are like, oh, we're the cool young kids, we don't care about all of the bullshit of the previous generations. They're assholes now.
Yeah.
They're the assholes now.
Yep.
So just always remember that your words and actions have consequences. Don't bring other people down. It's just not worth it. You have so
Yeah,
much.
bring up the things you love instead of bringing down the things you hate, because then maybe you'll see more of the things that you love.
Exactly, and that's
Do
that's
more do more charity work for your church and lend a helping hand to the community around you
mhm.
if you care so much about your god. If you care a lot about a video game, maybe put some constructive criticism. If you think a video game's going in a wrong direction, maybe find something else and find something similar. Or, you know, whatever. If there's a game that did something new and it got a lot of pushback, maybe put in some words and see if you can get a bunch of people to go around and say, well, you know what, we appreciate the effort. Because at the end of the day, there's a person behind everything. And those people have feelings too.
Unless of course we're talking about AI, but that's for another day.
That
That's
is
a
for another
that's
day.
a whole other can of worms. Anything else, Mew? Anything else you wanna?
I'm good.
Okay, I think I'm
Covered a
good.
lot of the other stuff I wanted to say too.
Right on. All right.
Thanks for
That's
having me.
Yeah. No, this was great. It would have felt empty, if I was just sitting here talking to chat. It would have felt very it wouldn't have felt as genuine without having another person to really bounce topics off of.
Yeah, and then you learned about vagina bones too, so it's a win-win.
Got to learn about that. A number of people can't take criticism, instantly feel attacked, and need protection from it. Yeah, and
Yeah, but
that's
be constructive. Be like, look, I like these elements. However, they felt a little bit clunky. I feel if you could bring it all together with a little better programming, it's possible that you had some crunch time. It's possible that you had a release date and you weren't able to work out all of the kinks. And because it's like, let's say PS2 era, where you can't really download patches, um, maybe there's like some things, but it's still something that like, you try to do something new while keeping all of the spiral mechanics, for example. So keep up the good work, and like maybe if you do like a re-release with some bug fixes, even just a port with bug fixes or like hitbox fixes or something, then maybe some people will like the game better. I don't know.
People are regressing to the point where it's like, um, there's no tact anymore. It's just I didn't like it, so it's bad, which is very
Yeah.
clearly an opinion. You know, I'm guilty of this. Where I'll
Exactly.
just I'm guilty of this. Where I'll just like somebody's like, oh, X movie, and I'll be like, oh, that movie was bad. That's clearly my opinion, but I'm just as bad with that. Where I just say something is bad, and people like, you can't say it was just bad. That's your opinion. Clearly, it's my opinion, but there can be more tact in the conversation.
But Sharknado is bad.
No, for me, oh, okay,
The
this
point
might
of it was being bad.
that's
Mm.
not the movie I'm talking about. No, there's actually a movie that people fucking rave about that I cannot stand. That's
There's a lot of those for a lot of people.
yeah.
I have a lot of anime like that too.
Hang on.
It's just like this is just the same thing again, but boring.
If any
Everybody loved Rent a Girlfriend. Rent a Girlfriend was shallow and stupid.
if anybody's interested, I am gonna drop a link to my Discord server, and if anybody wants to continue this conversation, if anybody has any thoughts, drop them there, and we
Yeah,
can uh, invite people. Hidden use copy button.
you need a Nightbot. Do you want me to set you up a Nightbot? I can do that tomorrow.
What's a Nightbot? I don't know what that is.
It'll be something where you can do exclamation mark Discord, and it'll not that but spelt correctly. I'll make sure it's spelt correctly. I'll send you the site, and then we can talk about that after. But yeah, I'll set you up a Nightbot because then you can do shoutouts, you can do commands, so it'll automatically bring you up there. Naneth! Wait, I can do this.
So much power. All right. I'm just gonna drop that though. If anybody's interested in,
Yeah, join up, because then we can continue the conversation further and stuff like that. And if anybody like, if we do another chat like this, and anybody wants to like join up, right?
yeah, there is some. I think with the current settings of the Discord server, you have to be. It can't be like a brand new Discord account. Like it has to have been around for a while, and you have to be in the Discord. I think for like 15 minutes, so people can't just instantly join and start spamming
Yeah.
garbage. Yeah, so you have to be in the Discord for like a few minutes, before it will let you. But yeah, that's I'm good. I think this was a constructive conversation.
Oh yeah.
We didn't solve all the world's problems, but in the sea of garbage where it's just like, oh, I'm angry at this thing. I'd like to think we spread a little bit of love. It's just
Yeah.
be
And
good to each other.
positivity.
Yeah, be good to each
Like
other.
even when it comes to like, gambling for PNGs, a lot of artists put work into those PNGs, so
Exactly. Okay.
don't ever guilt yourself for feeding into it.
All right. That's gonna do it for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Be good. Be kind. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And maybe we'll see you later if people like this. Maybe we can do this again sometime.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Deuces.